Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science documentary. Tonight we'll be exploring the remarkable world of kangaroos, those quiet architects of the Australian landscape. These extraordinary creatures move across vast distances with a grace that seems almost impossible, pushing through grasslands and deserts with an elegance few animals possess. Kangaroos are more than just bouncing marsupials that capture our imagination. They carry within them millions of years of evolutionary refinement, a blueprint for survival written across their powerful legs, muscular tails, and intelligent eyes. They gather together in groups called mobs, finding strength and comfort in numbers, while maintaining their own freedom and independence. From their unique way of moving to their remarkable reproductive systems, kangaroos reveal the patient work of nature in waiting animals perfectly suited to one of Earth's harshest and most challenging continents. Each kangaroo holds secrets about adaptation, survival, and the intricate relationships between animals and their environments. If you enjoy these quiet journeys through the natural world, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too. But for now, just breathe, allow your thoughts to settle, and let us venture together into the fascinating realm of these gentle hoppers. The red kangaroo stands as the tallest of all marsupials, rising over 6 feet into the air, with a posture that seems almost defiant against the arid landscape surrounding it. Within the family of kangaroos, more than 60 distinct species exist, ranging from the towering red kangaroo to smaller wallabies that dart through dense bushland. They belong to the subfamily Macropodinae, a term meaning large foot, a fitting name for animals whose feet have become perfectly engineered for their distinctive way of moving. When most people think of kangaroos, they envision the red kangaroo or the eastern grey kangaroo, the largest representatives of this diverse family. Yet within the Macropodidae family, an entire spectrum of creatures exists, each adapted to different corners of the Australian continent. These animals are classified within the genus Macropus, literally meaning Bigfoot, a name that captures the essence of what makes kangaroos so visibly unique among the world's mammals. Understanding this diversity helps us appreciate not just individual kangaroos, but entire ecosystems shaped by their presence and influence. Each kangaroo possesses powerful hind legs that seem disproportionately large compared to their small front limbs, creating a silhouette instantly recognizable across the world. Their large feet provide the foundation for incredible leaps, allowing some kangaroos to bound 30 feet in a single graceful jump. Red kangaroos achieve speeds exceeding 30 miles per hour, moving across open country with a rhythm that appears almost like a slow-motion dance. The structure of their feet contains 4 toes on each hind foot, with the large 4th toe bearing most of the animal's weight during movement. Their front limbs, though small, possess 5 unequal digits that function almost like human hands, complete with sharp claws suited for grasping and manipulation. These forelimbs seem almost comical in proportion to their muscular rear legs, yet they serve essential functions in daily life. Every physical feature appears carefully designed by nature to create the perfect hopping machine, an animal built specifically for the demands of an environment where distance and efficiency determine survival. The kangaroo skeleton reveals the secret to their remarkable jumping ability, with bones fused together in ways that create powerful levers for generating force. The tibia and fibula in their lower legs fuse into a single elongated structure, providing a solid foundation that acts like a spring when they prepare to launch themselves into the air. The bones in their feet are also fused together, creating a unified platform that distributes the enormous force generated during landing and takeoff. These lightweight yet incredibly strong bones allow kangaroos to achieve great speeds and leap vast distances without wearing out. The tail, composed of vertebrae and muscles, serves as a counterbalance during hopping and helps maintain stability during movement. When standing still, the tail works as a fifth limb, forming a tripod with the hind legs that allows a kangaroo to rest while remaining alert. This skeletal engineering represents millions of years of refinement, where every bone has been optimized to create an animal that can cover ground while using minimal energy, a crucial advantage in harsh environments where resources remain scarce. Kangaroos are the only large animals on Earth to use hopping as their primary means of locomotion, a unique adaptation that sets them apart from virtually every other mammal. Their powerful hind legs and elastic tendons work together like springs, storing and releasing energy with remarkable efficiency that allows them to travel at speed while expending less energy than walking. The thick, muscular tail does more than simply provide balance while hopping. It also acts as a fifth limb when standing still, supporting the kangaroo's weight alongside the hind legs. During boxing contests, the tail provides essential support, allowing the animal to rise up on its rear legs while engaging in combat. Red kangaroos can reach speeds of up to 70 kilometers per hour over short distances and maintain speeds of 40 kilometers per hour for extended periods. This hopping locomotion is so energy efficient that kangaroos have evolved as one of nature's most elegant travelers, able to cover ground faster while actually using less energy than many other animals of comparable size. This adaptation has proven absolutely crucial to their survival in environments where food and water sources may be separated by considerable distances. Kangaroos inhabit nearly every landscape across Australia, from dense forests to sprawling deserts and everything in between. They are most active during dawn and dusk, those quiet hours when temperatures remain manageable and the landscape transforms under soft light. Found in grasslands, forests, deserts, and open plains, kangaroos show incredible adaptability, occupying a vast range of habitats from the arid interior deserts to lush eastern woodlands and tropical northern savannas. They generally prefer areas with open grasslands for grazing, interspersed with patches of trees or shrubs that provide shelter from the intense sun and protection from predators. Access to reliable water sources is also a critical factor, influencing where kangaroos establish their ranges. The ability of these animals to thrive in such diverse environments speaks to their remarkable adaptability and resilience. Whether facing the scorching heat of central Australian deserts or the humid tropical regions of northern Australia, kangaroos have developed behavioral and physiological adaptations allowing them to survive and reproduce successfully across countless different conditions. Kangaroos are primarily crepuscular animals, meaning they are most active during the early morning hours and late afternoon into evening, a behavior that helps them avoid the intense midday heat that dominates their habitats. During the day, they spend significant time grazing on grasses and shrubs, using their specialized teeth to efficiently crop and chew tough vegetation that other animals cannot digest. During the hottest parts of the day, kangaroos seek shelter in shaded areas, resting and conserving energy while waiting for cooler hours to return. This daily rhythm showcases the kangaroo's elegant adaptation to the extreme temperatures of Australia, allowing them to remain active and productive while avoiding the worst heat. During periods of intense warmth, kangaroos lick their forearms, a behavior that promotes heat loss through evaporation and helps regulate their body temperature. By being active during cooler times and resting during peak heat, they conserve precious water and energy. Their thermoregulatory behavior demonstrates simple yet remarkably effective cooling mechanisms that enable survival in some of the hottest environments on Earth. Kangaroos live together in groups called mobs, typically containing around 50 or more animals working together as a loose collective. A single mob generally contains at least 10 members, with the stronger individuals providing protection and guidance to the weaker members of the group. Kangaroos travel and feed together in these mobs, though they are not truly social in the way dolphins or primates are, maintaining some independence even while remaining in close proximity. The largest male, often called the old man or boomer, typically dominates the group during mating season, establishing hierarchy through displays of strength and occasional combat. Recent research has revealed something surprising about kangaroo mothers. They become significantly more social when caring for joeys, owing behaviors that contradict the traditional view of kangaroos as solitary or loosely affiliated animals. Researchers have uncovered new evidence indicating that kangaroos could potentially form long-term relationships with specific individuals within their mob. The social structure of kangaroos is more nuanced and complex than once believed, with depth in relationships that scientists are only beginning to fully understand. Kangaroos possess a complex communication system involving vocalizations, body language, and occasional physical confrontations that allow them to convey information throughout their mob. When danger approaches, a kangaroo will thump its feet on the ground, sending an urgent signal of alarm that alerts the entire group to potential threats. Mothers use clicks and clucks to call or reassure their joeys, sounds that help maintain the bond between parent and offspring. Perhaps the most endearing and affectionate gesture in kangaroo communication is the nose-to-nose greeting, where familiar kangaroos encounter each other and touch noses in gentle acknowledgement after periods of separation. Their highly mobile ears serve as emotional indicators, with relaxed forward-facing ears generally signal contentment and comfort in another kangaroo's presence. When a kangaroo is relaxed around trusted companions, its tail will often rest loosely on the ground, rather than being held tense or used for balance. This communication system demonstrates remarkable sophistication, allowing kangaroos to convey danger, affection, and emotional states through multiple channels simultaneously. Research has revealed that kangaroos possess greater intelligence than many people realize, capable of intentional communication with humans in ways previously thought restricted to domesticated animals. 10 out of 11 kangaroos tested actively looked at the person who had provided food in a plastic container, seeking help to retrieve it. 9 of those 11 kangaroos additionally showed gaze alternations between the container and the person, a heightened form of communication that indicated they understood the person could assist them. This behavior challenges the notion that intentional human communication is usually limited to domesticated animals like dogs, horses, and goats. Kangaroos, which have never been domesticated, demonstrate considerable intelligence relative to their needs and lifestyle. These marsupials showcase an impressive ability to adapt to their environments, displaying complex social behaviors and problem-solving skills in various situations they encounter. The cognitive abilities of kangaroos represent a fascinating area of animal behavior research, revealing intelligence suited perfectly to their needs and survival requirements. Young joeys engage in mock boxing matches with one another as a form of play, playful bouts that help them practice coordination, learn social behaviors, and build physical skills in a safe, non-aggressive environment. When a joey boxes with an older kangaroo, it often serves as a teaching moment, with the older animal helping the younger understand boundaries, hierarchy, and other important mob dynamics. Researchers have observed that play sessions often conclude with affectionate behaviors like grooming or resting together, indicating their role in fostering positive relationships among group members. What's particularly interesting is that adult kangaroos sometimes join in these play sessions, especially mothers with their older offspring, creating intergenerational play interactions that serve as teaching moments and bonding opportunities. Play in kangaroos serves important developmental and social functions, allowing young joeys to learn critical skills through their boxing matches. The involvement of adult kangaroos in these play sessions demonstrates a commitment to passing on knowledge and maintaining social bonds across generations, highlighting the sophisticated nature of kangaroo society. Kangaroos have evolved to thrive on a diet consisting primarily of vegetation, with their feeding habits and dietary preferences well adapted to the diverse environments they inhabit across Australia. As herbivores, kangaroos primarily consume fresh grasses along with a variety of other plant matter, including flowering plants, mushrooms, ferns, and leaves. Their diet varies depending on the species and the availability of food in their specific habitats, with fresh green grass being their most favored food when available. Grasses and shrubs make up the bulk of their dietary intake, providing the nutrients necessary for survival and growth. Kangaroos have specialized as herbivores perfectly suited to their Australian environment, with different species showing different dietary preferences based on their habitats. Some prefer tender green shoots, while others can survive on tougher, more fibrous grasses when food becomes scarce. This dietary flexibility, combined with their efficient digestive system, allows kangaroos to thrive in environments ranging from lush grasslands to arid deserts. The kangaroo's digestive system is a marvel of evolutionary engineering, featuring specialized adaptations that enable breaking down tough plant material that most other animals cannot digest. Their chambered stomachs contain symbiotic microbes that perform the crucial work of fermentation, releasing energy-rich nutrients from vegetation. The most unique adaptation is their foregut fermentation system, which is functionally analogous to the rumen of placental ruminants, but structurally distinct from those organs. The kangaroo's stomach is a large sacculated organ where these symbiotic microbes break down cellulose, releasing energy-rich short-chain fatty acids that sustain the animal. This microbial fermentation allows the marsupial to extract maximum nutrition from low-quality forage that would provide little value to other animals. The system also contributes to resource conservation by allowing microbes to utilize urea, a nitrogenous waste product, for protein synthesis. By recycling urea back into the foregut instead of excreting it, the kangaroo conserves nitrogen, and reduces the water needed for excretion, an essential adaptation in an environment where water is often scarce. Kangaroos engage in a reproductive process that is exceptional among all mammals, characterized by a short gestation period of typically around 30 days, after which an extremely underdeveloped joey is born. Kangaroo reproduction features unique biological mechanisms, most notably embryonic diapause or delayed implantation, which allows a female to suspend the development of an embryo at the blastocyst stage, essentially a tiny cluster of 70 to 100 cells. A female kangaroo can have multiple offspring at different developmental stages simultaneously, nursing a large joey that occasionally leaves the pouch while having a smaller younger joey permanently attached to a nipple inside. At the same time, she may carry a dormant embryo in diapause in her uterus, ready to resume development when conditions permit. This system ensures continuous breeding, as the dormant embryo will resume development and be born shortly after the older joey vacates the pouch, or if the existing joey dies. Embryonic diapause is one of nature's most remarkable reproductive strategies, allowing females to pause embryo development until conditions are favorable. The birth process of a kangaroo joey represents one of the most fascinating phenomena in the animal kingdom, showcasing remarkable evolutionary adaptations that have allowed kangaroos to thrive despite their extremely short gestation period. Kangaroo joeys are born in an extremely altricial state or underdeveloped condition after a gestation of around 33 days. At birth, the joey is blind, deaf, hairless, and roughly the size of a jelly bean or grape. Measuring about 2 centimeters long and weighing less than a gram. Despite its extreme immaturity, the forelimbs and mouth are well developed and functional, essential for immediate survival and travel. During birth, the mother licks a path on her fur, providing a moist trail that guides the newborn joey towards safety. Immediately following birth, the tiny joey embarks on an unaided journey, using its relatively strong forelimbs to pull itself through the fur on its mother's abdomen toward the pouch. Once the joey reaches the pouch, it immediately latches onto one of the mother's nipples, which then swells inside the joey's mouth, firmly securing it in place. The development inside the pouch is prolonged, typically lasting from 6 to 11 months depending on the kangaroo species, during which the joey transforms from a tiny, underdeveloped creature into a fully formed young kangaroo. This remarkable process requires the newborn joey to accomplish an extraordinary feat, traveling from the birth canal through its mother's fur to reach the pouch with almost no developed senses. The mother's licking behavior creates a scent trail that guides the joey, while the joey's strong forelimbs allow it to claw its way through the fur. Once in the pouch, the secure latch formed by the swelling nipple ensures the joey can remain attached for weeks or months, developing safely while lacking the muscle development to suckle effectively at this stage. The mother provides all necessary nutrients through the nipple connection. During this pouch development, the joey undergoes remarkable growth and transformation, developing its senses, growing fur, and becoming increasingly mobile until it eventually emerges into the outside world. A unique biological adaptation allows the mother kangaroo to produce different types of milk simultaneously from different nipples, nourishing joeys of varying ages with precisely tailored nutrition. A newly attached joey receives watery, high-protein, immunity-rich milk that fuels rapid early growth and provides antibodies for protection. An older joey, preparing to leave the pouch, receives milk with higher fat and carbohydrate content, energy-dense nutrition suited to its increased needs. This remarkable adaptation showcases the kangaroo's reproductive sophistication, allowing a mother to optimally nourish joeys at different developmental stages simultaneously. The ability to produce different milk compositions means that each joey receives exactly what it needs for healthy development at its particular stage of maturation. A newborn joey requires protein-rich milk to fuel its rapid growth, while an older joey requires energy-dense milk with higher fat content. This physiological flexibility demonstrates nature's intricate solutions to the challenges of raising multiple offspring with different needs. Climate exerts a profound influence on kangaroo reproductive cycles, with extreme weather events such as droughts diminishing food resources and impacting the nutritional intake necessary for reproductive health. In resource-rich periods, female kangaroos exhibit increased reproductive activity, leading to higher birth rates, while conversely, harsh conditions can lead to reproductive suppression. During droughts or periods of resource scarcity, females may pause embryonic development or suppress reproduction entirely, conserving energy and decreasing strain on limited resources. Breeding can occur year-round, but only when conditions remain favorable, with drought-breaking rain stimulating female ovulation, often within 14 days of rainfall. The kangaroo's reproductive system is intricately tied to environmental conditions, demonstrating how animals adapt their biology to match their surroundings. This flexibility ensures that kangaroos reproduce only when they have reasonable chances of successfully raising offspring to independence. Male kangaroos often engage in boxing matches to establish dominance and compete for females, standing on their tails while kicking with their powerful hind legs in displays of strength. If threatened, kangaroos pound the ground with their strong feet in warning, a behavior that sends vibrations alerting others to danger. Fighting kangaroos kick opponents with considerable force and sometimes bite, engaged in combat that follows established patterns of confrontation. The courtship and mating period is usually relatively short, but males must first fight each other to establish who will have mating rights. Kangaroos fight with their front legs as if they were boxing, with only the most dominant and victorious males able to mate with more than one female in the same season. Kangaroo boxing represents a fascinating spectacle in nature, where males establish social hierarchy and secure mating rights. The use of their powerful tail as a tripod for balance while kicking demonstrates how their unique anatomy serves multiple functions simultaneously. As herbivores, kangaroos graze on grasses and plants, playing an essential role in maintaining healthy ecosystems across Australia. The large kangaroos have adapted much better than smaller macropods to land clearing for pastoral agriculture and habitat changes brought to the Australian landscape by humans. Many of the smaller species are now rare and endangered, while kangaroos remain relatively plentiful despite common misconceptions to the contrary. Kangaroos have actually benefited from human presence, as open land and water sources created by farming have allowed their populations to increase significantly. Kangaroos play a crucial ecological role as grazing animals that help maintain grassland health and structure, Their selective grazing prevents certain grasses from dominating and allows for greater botanical diversity. While smaller macropod species have declined due to human habitat modifications, large kangaroos have thrived, demonstrating remarkable adaptability to changed landscapes and filling ecological niches created by human agriculture. The kangaroo, along with the koala, serves as a symbol of Australia, recognized globally as representing the nation and its unique wildlife. A kangaroo appears on the Australian coat of arms and on some of its currency, instantly identifying Australia to people worldwide. The image is used as a logo for some of Australia's most well-known organisations, such as Qantas Airlines, making it a symbol of Australian commerce and culture. The kangaroo also appears as the rounder of the Royal Australian Air Force, representing the nation's military identity. This cultural significance reflects the deep connection between kangaroos and Australian identity, embodying the spirit of the continent and its indigenous heritage. The kangaroo has become so integral to Australian culture that its image appears everywhere, from sports teams to corporate logos to government symbols. This recognition demonstrates how a single animal can become so closely associated with an entire nation and its values. Kangaroos display remarkable adaptability to extreme heat, possessing physiological mechanisms that allow survival in some of the harshest environments on Earth. During the hottest parts of the day, kangaroos seek shelter under trees and shrubs, using shade to escape the intense Australian sun. Their fur acts as insulation, protecting their skin from excessive heat exposure, and their efficient digestive system reduces the need for excessive water consumption. When temperatures become unbearable, kangaroos reduce their activity levels, moving slowly and conserving energy until cooler evening hours arrive. Their metabolism has adapted to function efficiently in high-heat environments, requiring less energy to maintain body temperature compared to animals from cooler regions. Some kangaroos have been observed remaining almost motionless for extended periods during peak heat, barely moving until the sun begins to descend. This heat adaptation, combined with their ability to locate and access water sources that other animals might miss, allows kangaroos to thrive where many other large animals would struggle to survive. The hopping locomotion of kangaroos represents one of nature's most energy-efficient methods of movement, allowing them to cover vast distances while expending minimal energy. Research comparing kangaroos to other animals has shown that hopping requires less energy than walking for animals of kangaroo size and weight. The elastic tendons in their hind legs act as biological springs, storing energy during the landing phase and releasing it during the takeoff phase. This energy recovery means that each hop becomes slightly more efficient than the previous one. As momentum builds and efficiency improves, larger kangaroos, such as red kangaroos, can maintain hopping speeds of 40 kilometers per hour for extended periods without significant energy depletion. Smaller species must expend more energy relative to their body size, but they still benefit from the efficiency of the hopping mechanism compared to other quadrupedal animals. This locomotor adaptation has allowed kangaroos to dominate the Australian landscape and survive in environments where energy conservation is essential for survival. Kangaroo mothers demonstrate remarkable dedication to their joeys, protecting and nurturing them through vulnerable developmental stages. A mother kangaroo maintains close contact with her joey throughout its time in the pouch, ensuring it receives proper nutrition and protection from the environment. After the joey emerges from the pouch, the mother continues providing milk and guidance, teaching the young kangaroo essential survival skills. Mothers have been observed retrieving joeys that have strayed too far or gotten into danger, demonstrating parental concern and protective behavior. The bond between mother and joey appears to strengthen during the rearing process, with communication becoming more sophisticated as the joey develops. Some mothers carry their joeys for extended periods even after they have emerged from the pouch, providing security and comfort. This maternal investment in each joey's development demonstrates the importance of family bonds in kangaroo society and the commitment mothers make to ensuring their offspring's survival. The tail of a kangaroo serves multiple essential functions beyond simple balance, making it one of the most versatile appendages in the animal kingdom. When standing upright during boxing matches or other activities, the tail provides crucial support, acting as a tripod that allows the kangaroo to maintain balance while engaging in combat. The tail contains powerful muscles and numerous vertebrae, making it a muscular limb capable of bearing significant weight. During hopping locomotion, the tail counterbalances the upper body, allowing kangaroos to maintain stability and control their movement direction. When moving slowly or standing still, the tail rests on the ground, providing additional support for the kangaroo's body weight. The tail can also be used to communicate emotional states, with different positions indicating alertness, relaxation, or agitation. Some kangaroos can even use their tail to help propel themselves forward during slow locomotion, essentially using it as an additional pushing force. Kangaroos possess excellent hearing abilities, with ears that rotate independently to detect sounds from different directions simultaneously. Their highly sensitive ears can pick up subtle noises from considerable distances, allowing them to detect potential threats or locate other kangaroos within their mob. The ears serve as emotional indicators, with relaxed positioning indicating contentment and alert positioning suggesting attention or concern. When alarmed, kangaroos' ears stand upright and may rotate toward the source of the sound, helping the animal locate danger precisely. The independent rotation of each ear allows kangaroos to monitor their surroundings effectively, while remaining focused on foraging or other activities. Mothers use their acute hearing to monitor their joeys, detecting distress calls or other sounds that indicate their offspring needs assistance. This auditory sensitivity contributes significantly to kangaroo survival, allowing them to remain alert to environmental changes and potential threats. Kangaroos have evolved specialized teeth, perfectly adapted for their herbivorous diet, with grinding molars capable of processing tough grasses and fibrous plant material. Unlike many herbivores, kangaroos have relatively simple tooth structure compared to ruminants like cattle or sheep, yet their teeth remain highly effective for their specific dietary needs. The grinding surfaces of their molars can break down plant fibers into smaller particles, facilitating the digestive process. Kangaroo teeth grow continuously throughout the animal's lifetime, similar to rodents, allowing them to replace wear from grinding tough vegetation. The positioning of their teeth and the structure of their jaw muscles provide mechanical advantage for grinding and processing plant material. Different kangaroo species show slight variations in tooth size and shape, reflecting their specific dietary preferences and habitat conditions. This dental adaptation, combined with their specialized digestive system, enables kangaroos to extract maximum nutrition from available vegetation. The sense of smell plays an important role in kangaroo communication and environmental awareness, with scent marking helping establish territories and convey information to other kangaroos. Males mark their territories using scent glands located on their chests and other body regions, leaving olfactory signals that communicate presence and dominance to other males. Females use scent to indicate their reproductive status, with males responding to hormonal signals in her urine and other secretions. Young joeys learn to recognize their mother's scent, which helps them locate her in the pouch and identify her among other kangaroos in the mob. Kangaroos can detect subtle scent variations in their environment, helping them locate food sources and identify other kangaroos at considerable distances. The sensitivity of their olfactory system enables them to navigate their environment effectively, even when visibility becomes limited by darkness or dust storms. This reliance on scent demonstrates the complexity of kangaroo sensory capabilities and their dependence on multiple channels for gathering environmental information. Kangaroos display seasonal variation in their behavior and activity patterns, with changes in weather and food availability influencing their daily routines. During wet seasons when grass is plentiful, kangaroos may graze more actively and range over smaller territories due to abundant resources. During dry seasons, kangaroos must travel greater distances to locate adequate food and water, extending their daily movement patterns considerably. Some kangaroos have been observed traveling up to 50 kilometers in search of water during severe droughts, demonstrating their remarkable endurance and determination. Seasonal changes also influence reproductive activity, with breeding increasing during resource-rich periods and suppressing during times of scarcity. Winter in some parts of Australia brings cooler temperatures that may increase kangaroo activity as the animals become more comfortable moving during daylight hours. These seasonal adaptations reflect the kangaroo's responsiveness to environmental changes and their ability to modify behavior based on current conditions. The eyes of a kangaroo are positioned on the sides of their head, providing panoramic vision that allows them to detect predators or other movement across a wide field. This lateral eye positioning is typical of prey animals, offering protection from threats that might approach from the sides or rear. Kangaroos have good night vision, an adaptation that supports their crepuscular activity patterns and allows them to move safely during dawn and dusk hours. Their pupils dilate significantly in low light, maximizing the amount of light entering the eye and improving visibility in dim conditions. The structure of their retina contains a higher proportion of rod cells compared to cone cells, enhancing sensitivity to light movement while potentially reducing color discrimination. Despite having good night vision, kangaroos still rely heavily on hearing and smell for environmental awareness, using multiple sensory modalities simultaneously. This visual adaptation, combined with acute hearing and sensitive smell, creates a comprehensive sensory system perfectly suited to detecting and responding to threats. The speed and agility of kangaroos allows them to escape predators effectively, with their powerful hind legs enabling rapid acceleration and direction changes. When threatened, Kangaroos can achieve their maximum speed quickly, allowing them to escape danger before predators can respond. Their low center of gravity during hopping provides stability while allowing rapid turns and directional changes. Larger kangaroos, such as red kangaroos, can maintain high speeds over extended distances, potentially outlasting predators in endurance contests. Smaller kangaroos rely on agility and maneuverability, using their tails for balance during sharp turns. Joeys remaining in pouches are protected by their mother's speed and evasive abilities, allowing mothers to escape danger while protecting their activity. Developing offspring. This speed advantage has allowed kangaroos to survive in open environments where they cannot rely on camouflage or dense vegetation for protection. Their locomotor abilities represent a crucial adaptation for survival in the Australian landscape. Kangaroos require regular access to water sources, a necessity that influences where they establish their home ranges and determines their daily movement patterns. Many kangaroos are attracted to artificial water sources created by human cattle ranching, such as watering holes and troughs. During droughts, kangaroos may travel considerable distances to locate reliable water sources, sometimes traveling many kilometers daily in search of drinking water. Once they locate water, kangaroos may remain in that area temporarily, creating temporary concentrations of animals around the available resource. Some kangaroos have been observed obtaining sufficient water from the plants they consume, reducing their need to travel to standing water sources. The availability of water influences reproduction, with abundant water resources supporting higher birth rates and reproductive activity. Water sources also attract predators, making the areas around waterholes potentially dangerous despite their necessity for survival. This dependence on water shapes kangaroo behavior and distribution across their range. Kangaroos possess remarkable abilities to sense their environment through specialized sensory hairs called vibrissae that detect minute changes in air movement patterns. These whisker-like structures provide a secondary sensory system, helping them navigate darkness and detect nearby movement without relying solely on primary senses. The vibrissae are particularly sensitive around the face and muzzle region, allowing kangaroos to assess their surroundings with extraordinary precision. Mother kangaroos use these sensory hairs to monitor their joeys, detecting subtle movements and vibrations that indicate distress or discomfort. This sensory adaptation reveals how kangaroos perceive their world in ways largely invisible to human observers who lack comparable sensory capabilities. The muscle composition of kangaroos reflects specialization for powerful hopping, with development concentrated in hind legs and tail regions. These muscles contain more slow-twitch fibers than sprinting animals, allowing sustained hopping without fatigue. The calf muscles are enormously developed, providing explosive force for each hop. The tail muscles contain numerous fibers arranged to allow precise control and positioning. This architecture balances power and endurance, enabling kangaroos to travel vast distances while expending minimal energy. The gluteal muscles provide additional power generation during hops, contributing to the explosive takeoff phase. The connection between leg muscles and the vertebral column allows transfer of force generated by leg muscles to the rest of the body, improving efficiency. The muscle fiber arrangement shows incredible specialization, with some fibers oriented specifically for vertical movement, while others handle horizontal forces. This specialized arrangement is unique to kangaroos and contribute significantly to their hopping efficiency. Kangaroo joeys progress through distinct developmental stages during their pouch time, with each phase marked by physical changes and growing capabilities. Initially barely recognizable as animals, joeys gradually develop senses, with hearing arriving before sight begins functioning. By midpoint, joeys move around within the pouch, actively exploring while remaining dependent on mother's milk. In final weeks, joeys practice movements and build the strength necessary for life outside the protective pouch environment. The entire development process prepares joeys for the critical moment of leaving the pouch and facing the challenges of the outside world. Mothers continuously adjust their behaviors and movements to accommodate their joey's development stage and changing needs. The emergence of a joey from the pouch is gradual rather than sudden, with young kangaroos spending increasing time outside while returning for nursing. Young joeys make tentative hops outside while staying near their mother for reassurance. Early excursions are brief, with joeys quickly returning if alarmed. Over weeks, joeys spend longer periods outside, learning to forage alongside mothers. Mothers produce milk tailored to development, while joeys supplement with grasses. This gradual weaning transitions joeys from dependence to independence without sudden separation. Kangaroos exhibit varying tolerance toward others depending on social relationships and resources. Certain individuals develop close associations while maintaining distance from others, creating loose hierarchies. Female kangaroos show greater tolerance toward other females, especially when nursing joeys. Males maintain competitive relationships established through displays and combat. Young kangaroos receive benign indifference from non-related adults. Tolerance levels shift seasonally with increased aggression during mating season. This flexibility allows kangaroos to benefit from groups while maintaining independence. Kangaroos possess an internal clock regulating daily activities and reproductive cycles. This circadian rhythm governs when kangaroos forage, rest, or socialize, remaining consistent even in lab conditions. Seasonal changes in day length stimulate hormonal cascades, preparing females for reproduction. Males become more aggressive and attentive as their internal clock signals breeding season. This timing system allows anticipation of environmental changes, preparing kangaroos for seasonal transitions. The system adjusts to rainfall and food availability, allowing flexibility in responding to unpredictable conditions. Kangaroos can change direction rapidly while hopping, with the tail and body position facilitating turns. When hopping straight, movement appears rigid, but for turns the tail swings to counterbalance, while hind legs change trajectory. Spine flexibility, especially in the lower back, enables body position shifts. Larger kangaroos are limited in sharp turns due to size, while smaller species show remarkable agility. Young kangaroos practice turning during play, developing muscle control for complex maneuvering. Quick directional changes provide protection from predators. Kangaroos demonstrate personality differences influencing behavior and responses to novelty. Some are bold and exploratory, investigating new objects readily, while others show caution. These traits persist over time, suggesting stable personality rather than momentary variations. Bold females may find resources better during droughts, while cautious individuals avoid dangers. Personality influences mating success, with bold males more likely to challenge dominance. Mothers appear to raise joeys with similar behavioral tendencies, suggesting partial inheritance. Multiple strategies remain successful within populations. Kangaroos make movement decisions based on complex calculations of energy expenditure, predator risk, and resource availability. Facing multiple movement options, kangaroos evaluate distance, likelihood of encountering food or water, and predator exposure. These decisions appear automatic rather than conscious, emerging from instinctive evaluations. Younger kangaroos make less optimal decisions than experienced adults, suggesting improvement through learning. During scarcity, kangaroos accept greater risk for greater benefit. This flexibility allows adaptation to circumstances rather than rigid patterns. Social learning within mobs allows knowledge of resources and dangers to spread without personal experience. When one kangaroo discovers food sources, others learn through observation, spreading knowledge throughout the mob. Mothers teach jayas by allowing observation and mimicry of feeding behavior. Water source information spreads similarly. Knowledge of dangers spreads via foot-thumping alarms. This social transmission creates mob culture with established behaviors and preferences passed through generations. Kangaroos benefit from predecessors' experiences without repeating mistakes. Subordinate males in mobs practice deferred reproduction, refraining from direct competition despite limited reproductive success. This strategy seems counterintuitive until considering long-term benefits of social bonds and group protection. Subordinate males may defend territories when dominants age, eventually ascending to dominance. Multiple males provide protection benefits through increased predator vigilance. Some subordinate males disperse to other mobs while others wait and eventually achieve dominance. This deferred reproduction strategy suggests group benefits outweigh temporary reproductive suppression. Kangaroos have adapted to handle variations in food quality by adjusting their digestive processes and intake rates based on available nutrition. During low-quality vegetation periods, kangaroos increase intake and extend grazing to obtain sufficient nutrition. When high-quality green shoots appear, they reduce intake time while maintaining energy efficiency. The symbiotic microorganisms in the foregut adjust activity levels based on diet, with populations expanding or contracting based on available substrate. This digestive flexibility allows kangaroos to maintain nutrition across varied environments without migration. The adjustment occurs gradually, with improved efficiency after several days of consistent diet as microbial populations optimize. The temperature of the foregut remains relatively stable through kangaroo behavioral adjustments, allowing optimal conditions for microbial function. This remarkable flexibility represents important adaptability, contributing to kangaroo success across diverse Australian landscapes. Thermoregulation in kangaroos involves complex mechanisms beyond forearm licking, employing behavioral and physiological strategies together. During extreme heat, kangaroos seek shelter under dense vegetation or depressions providing insulation from sun. The fur acts as an insulating layer, reducing heat penetration to the skin and preventing rapid temperature increases. Kangaroos adjust metabolic rates during heat stress, slowing body functions to minimize internal heat. Blood vessels in ears and limbs constrict or dilate to regulate heat loss, with constriction during cold and dilation during heat. Behavioral adjustments like remaining motionless during peak heat work with physiological mechanisms maintaining homeostasis. Kangaroos also increase salivation during heat, spreading saliva in their faces to enhance evaporative cooling. This comprehensive system enables kangaroos to remain active despite extreme thermal challenges of their habitat. Kangaroos exhibit dietary flexibility, allowing survival when preferred foods become scarce, shifting to alternatives without extended adjustment periods. When lush green grasses are available, kangaroos prefer these high-nutrition plants and spend brief foraging periods consuming adequate calories. As preferred foods become scarce, kangaroos gradually consume lower preference vegetation, extracting maximum nutrition from normally avoided plants. Diet shifts appear learned and behavioral rather than physiologically forced, with kangaroos actively choosing different foods as availability changes. Some kangaroos become specialized in preferences, returning repeatedly to particular plants and learning seasonal patterns. This learned flexibility allows kangaroos to develop resources knowledge adapting survival in variable environments. Regional populations develop distinct preferences based on local availability patterns. The combination of digestive flexibility with behavioral learning about preferences creates powerful adaptation, enabling persistence through environmental stress that eliminates less adaptable species. The immune system of kangaroos contains specialized components protecting against parasites and endemic diseases, with antibodies in mother's milk providing initial protection. Milk composition changes in antibody content as joeys develop, with mothers adjusting immune components to match threats the joey will encounter upon leaving the pouch. Kangaroos appear resistant to diseases affecting introduced livestock, suggesting evolution specific to Australian pathogens. Individual variation in immune response creates population resilience through diversity, with some kangaroos susceptible to particular diseases while resistant to others. Surviving kangaroos develop specific immunity, protecting from future infections, with knowledge partially transmitted via milk antibodies. The spleen of kangaroos appears to process pathogens efficiently, creating rapid immune responses to novel threats. Maternal immunity transferred through nursing provides essential protection during vulnerable early weeks when joeys' own immune systems remain underdeveloped. The robustness of kangaroo immune systems enables maintaining healthy populations despite exposure to diverse parasites and pathogens. Kangaroos demonstrate varying levels of curiosity about novel objects and situations, with some individuals investigating new items immediately, while others maintain distance and observe from afar. This variation in investigative behavior appears related to personality factors and prior experience, with kangaroos that have previously encountered novel objects responding differently than those encountering similar items for the first time. Young kangaroos appear more curious than adults, approaching novel objects and investigating them through smell and touch, learning whether they represent potential threats or irrelevant environmental features. As kangaroos age and gain experience, their curiosity appears to become more selective, with adults investigating only objects that seem directly relevant to their needs. The balance between curiosity and caution represents an adaptive strategy that allows kangaroos to explore their environment and detect changes while avoiding excessive risk from unknown hazards. Mothers sometimes actively discourage overly curious joeys from approaching potentially dangerous items, demonstrating a form of protective parenting that shapes how young kangaroos learn to respond to novel situations. This integration of innate curiosity with learned caution creates a behavioral system that optimizes the trade-off between information gathering and risk avoidance. The aging process in kangaroos involves gradual changes in physical capability and behavioral patterns, with older kangaroos showing reduced mobility and increased time spent resting and grooming. The teeth of aging kangaroos become progressively worn by years of grinding tough vegetation, eventually becoming too short to process food effectively, which can lead to malnutrition and death, even when adequate vegetation remains available. Older males gradually lose dominance as their fighting ability declines, with younger males increasingly challenging their position and eventually displacing them from the top of the hierarchy. Females continue to reproduce throughout their lives, though fertility may decline with age as reproductive senescence begins to affect hormone production and ovulation on frequency. Older kangaroos remain important members of mobs despite reduced reproductive output, potentially providing valuable knowledge about resource locations and danger signals learned over decades of experience. Some kangaroos live into their teenage years in the wild, representing a significant portion of their lifespan when we consider that kangaroos have lifespans of approximately 15 to 20 years in optimal conditions. The gradual transition from prime reproductive age to old age appears to be accepted within mob dynamics, with older kangaroos continuing to participate in social interactions and group movements despite reduced capability. Kangaroos possess excellent color vision, contrary to perceptions that marsupials have poor color perception, with color-sensitive cone cells allowing multiple color discrimination. The colors kangaroos perceive differ from human perception, with greater sensitivity to blue and green wavelengths, while being less sensitive to red. Color vision benefits include distinguishing vegetation types and fruit ripeness, allowing effective nutritious food location. The eye position on head sides provides excellent panoramic vision despite reducing forward binocular overlap compared to forward-facing animals. The eye lens contains special proteins, allowing transparency and sharp focus across distances kangaroos encounter. Light-sensitive cells respond more to movement than static images, particularly V, allowable for predator detection. The combined color vision and motion sensitivity system matches kangaroo ecological needs and environmental challenges. Kangaroos can distinguish colors in dim light conditions where colorblind animals see only grayscale, providing advantage during crepuscular activity. The structure of the kangaroo eye reflects thousands of years of evolutionary refinement for their specific environmental conditions and behavioral needs. The optical properties allow rapid light adjustment when transitioning between sun and shade. Kangaroos demonstrate memory abilities that extend far beyond simple recognition of immediate threats or food sources, with individual kangaroos apparently maintaining mental maps of their home ranges and remembering seasonal patterns across multiple years. When relocated to new areas, kangaroos show clear evidence of remembering previous locations through their behavior patterns and resource-seeking activities. The memory systems that allow kangaroos to remember food source locations and seasonal availability patterns likely depend on the hippocampus, a brain structure involved in spatial memory and navigation. Long-term memories formed during crucial life events, such as major droughts or periods of abundance, appear to persist for years and influence kangaroo behavior even after the tryph-gering conditions have changed. Mothers remember the locations of their joeys despite being separated during foraging periods, using spatial memory and periodic visual checks to maintain track of offspring. The integration of multiple sensory inputs into memory systems allows kangaroos to build rich representations of their environment that guide their decision-making and behavior across years. This extended memory capacity represents a significant component of kangaroo intelligence and contributes substantially to their survival success in variable environments. The nocturnal aspects of kangaroo activity have been increasingly documented as researchers spend more time observing kangaroos during darkness, revealing behaviors that remain hidden during daylight hours. Some kangaroos appear to forage nocturnally during summer months when nighttime temperatures are more moderate and daytime heat is extreme, shifting their activity patterns to match the thermal demands of their environment. Nocturnal foraging also provides reduced visibility to potential predators, allowing kangaroos to feed in more exposed locations without the vulnerability that daylight feeding would entail. The eye shine often observed in kangaroos at night reflects a special layer of tissue at the back of the retina called the tapetum lucidum, which enhances night vision by reflecting light back through the light-sensitive cells. This anatomical adaptation improves the kangaroo's ability to see in darkness, while also making them more conspicuous to observers using lights or cameras. The flexibility of kangaroo activity patterns, shifting between crepuscular peaks during moderate temperatures and nocturnal feeding during extreme heat, demonstrates behavioral plasticity that allows them to adapt to varying seasonal conditions. The ability to be active across a range of times, rather than being strictly bound to particular periods, provides significant survival advantages in unpredictable environments. Kangaroos generate heat during periods of cold through increased metabolic activity and muscle shivering, strategies similar to those employed by many mammals facing thermal challenges. During cold periods, kangaroos huddle together in small groups, sharing body heat and reducing the surface area exposed to the cold environment. The thick fur that provides insulation against heat also functions effectively as insulation against cold, trapping air and creating an insulating layer that reduces heat loss. Kangaroos can reduce blood flow to the skin and extremities during cold periods, concentrating internal heat around vital organs in the torso and head. The behavioral response of remaining relatively motionless during cold periods reduces the surface movement that would otherwise enhance heat loss through convection. The combination of behavioral thermoregulation and physiological adjustments creates a system that allows kangaroos to survive in environments that experience significant temperature fluctuations between seasons. The heat generation capacity of kangaroos, while not equivalent to that of animals with specialized brown fat deposits, remains sufficient to maintain basic body functions during the relatively mild winters of most Australian regions. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to learn associations between environmental cues and upcoming events, anticipating feeding times or danger based on preceding signals. Those experiencing rainfall patterns learn to predict water availability, positioning themselves to access water immediately. The learning ability depends on repeated experience, with consistent temporal relationships, with kangaroos gradually building mental models of environment operation. Mothers teach joeys learned associations through behavior, with young kangaroos observing where mothers go and learning temporal connections. The generalization of learned associations allows applying knowledge from one location to similar situations elsewhere, showing learning flexibility. Kangaroos may remember particular locations where rain frequently appears or where food sources emerge during specific seasons. The integration of learned associations with innate responses creates both reliable and flexible behavioral systems, maintaining responses to familiar situations while remaining responsive to novel circumstances. Advanced learning abilities enable navigation of complex variable environments. Some kangaroos even appear to anticipate seasonal changes before they occur, positioning themselves ahead of predicted resource availability. This capacity for prediction represents sophisticated cognition, enabling survival in unpredictable environments. The stress responses of kangaroos involve sympathetic nervous system activation and stress hormone release, such as adrenaline and cortisol, preparing bodies for escape or defense. Threatened kangaroos show immediate behavioral responses including increased alertness and rapid movement, sometimes coordinated with other mob members receiving alarm signals. Prolonged stressors like drought or habitat disturbance cause sustained cortisol elevation, suppressing immune and reproductive function. Individual variation exists in stress responses, with some animals showing rapid recovery, while others maintain elevated stress hormones longer. Nursing females show particularly strong stress responses, prioritizing joey defense over personal safety. The stress response system remains activated longer in individuals experiencing repeated stressors, creating vigilance, improving survival in dangerous environments, but carrying energy expenditure costs. The balance between appropriate stress response and excessive chronic stress significantly influences kangaroo health and reproduction. Chronic stress may reduce foraging efficiency and social participation, creating cascading effects on overall well-being. Kangaroos recovering from stress events often show behavioral changes persisting weeks or months after the threat passes. Kangaroos engage in play behavior, serving developmental functions beyond simple entertainment, with younger animals devoting significantly more time than older animals. Play activities include mock combat with other kangaroos, jumping and turning exercises, developing motor skills, and environmental investigation, building habitat understanding. Joey play with other joeys develops fighting and maneuvering skills essential for male reproductive competition and predator escape. Solo play, involving jumping and turning, develops precise neuromuscular control for complex hopping and rapid direction changes. The integration of play with social interactions reinforces bonds between young animals and between joeys and mothers, creating relationships persisting into adulthood. The energy expenditure on play is significant for young kangaroos, yet justified by long-term benefits of improved physical capability and social integration. Play sessions sometimes include 3 or more joeys simultaneously, creating complex social interactions, teaching cooperation. The reduction in play as kangaroos age reflects the shift from development to reproduction and maintenance. Mature animals invest energy in activities more directly related to survival and reproduction. Play appears to serve crucial functions in developing the behavioral flexibility kangaroos require. Kangaroos appear to experience distress when separated from social partners, showing behavioral changes and increased activity, suggesting genuine emotional responses. Mothers separated from joeys display searching behavior and vocalizations, appearing directed toward locating offspring. Joeys, separated from mothers, show extreme distress with high-pitched vocalizations and frantic searching persisting for extended periods. The strength of these reactions suggests mother-joey bonds involve genuine emotional attachment rather than simple stimulus responses. Kangaroos forming associations with particular mob members show proximity preferences, deriving comfort from their presence. The capacity for emotional bonds extends beyond mother-joey pairs to include apparent friendships between non-related adults, with individuals showing strong preferences for particular peers. The emotional aspects of kangaroo social life remain poorly studied, yet evidence suggests kangaroos experience richer emotional landscapes than their calm demeanor might indicate. Genuine emotions underlying kangaroo behavior contribute significantly to mob structure maintenance and relationship stability. Kangaroos separated from long-term social partners show behavioral changes persisting for months, suggesting strong emotional bonds. The complexity of kangaroo emotional life demonstrates that these animals are far more psychologically sophisticated than often assumed. The recognition of kangaroos as emotionally complex beings has implications for how humans should interact with and manage these animals. Kangaroos demonstrate remarkable endurance during long-distance traveling, maintaining movement for extended periods to locate water or food during scarcity. Red kangaroos travel 50 kilometers or more seeking water during severe droughts, extraordinary journeys for animals their size. The hopping efficiency allows covering distances while expending less energy than other animals require. Kangaroos undertaking these journeys show stress and exhaustion, suggesting genuine challenge despite adaptations. Body condition reduces significantly with visible weight loss and dehydration signs upon arrival. Males appear more likely to undertake long-distance travel than females, possibly due to females remaining accessible to nursing joeys or employing different resource strategies. The capacity to undertake extended travel, despite associated costs, represents crucial adaptation, enabling survival where resources are dispersed unpredictably. The navigation abilities of kangaroos during these journeys remain poorly understood, but likely involve memory of previous resource locations and sensing subtle environmental cues, indicating water proximity. Upon reaching water sources, kangaroos may spend days recovering before moving onward. Kangaroos show individual preferences for specific food plants, with some kangaroos specializing in particular vegetation types while others maintain more generalized diets. The development of these preferences appears to be influenced by early experience, with joeys learning the food preferences of their mothers and potentially maintaining similar preferences throughout their lives. Regional populations of kangaroos show distinct dietary preferences that appear to reflect historical availability patterns in their local areas, suggesting that learning and cultural transmission influence what kangaroos choose to eat. The specialization of some individuals in particular food sources may provide advantages when those foods are abundant, but create vulnerability when preferred vegetation becomes scarce. More generalized feeders maintain greater flexibility and can more readily shift their diet to alternative vegetation, providing advantages during periods of resource scarcity. The balance between specialized and generalized feeding strategies within populations may enhance overall resilience by ensuring that some individuals can exploit changing resource availability. The recognition of food preferences as learned and culturally transmitted rather than entirely innate represents an important finding in kangaroo behavioral ecology. Kangaroos appear to recognize themselves in mirrors and other reflective surfaces after a brief period of exposure, suggesting a level of self-awareness that extends beyond simple stimulus response. The recognition behavior involves investigation of the reflection, followed by understanding that the reflection represents the kangaroo's own image rather than another individual. This self-recognition ability has important implications for understanding kangaroo cognition, suggesting that kangaroos maintain representations of their own bodies and can recognize these representations when viewed from unusual perspectives. The ability to recognize one's own body may be related to more sophisticated spatial reasoning and understanding of body position, abilities that would be valuable for planning complex movements and understanding how one's body interacts with the environment. The presence of self-recognition in kangaroos suggests cognitive capabilities that exceed those required for basic survival and suggests that kangaroos may be capable of more sophisticated forms of thought than previously recognized. The investigation of kangaroo cognition through self-recognition testing represents a valuable approach to understanding the mental capabilities of these animals, though such testing remains limited to captive or habituated populations. Kangaroos demonstrate preferences for certain microhabitats within their home ranges, returning repeatedly to particular locations for resting, feeding, or social interaction. These preferred areas often feature specific combinations of vegetation that provide both food and shelter, along with favorable sightlines for predator detection. The development of habitat preferences appears to be learned through experience, with kangaroos gradually learning which locations are most favorable for particular activities. The attachment to preferred locations may create patterns of movement that make kangaroos more predictable to observers, allowing researchers to anticipate where particular kangaroos are likely to be found at particular times. The flexibility in habitat use allows kangaroos to abandon preferred locations when conditions deteriorate and relocate to more favorable areas. Females appear to show stronger site fidelity than males, with mothers maintaining familiarity with particular ranges where they have successfully raised multiple joeys. The use of preferred microhabitats creates localized concentrations of kangaroo activity and resource use, potentially creating environmental impacts that are focused in particular areas rather than distributed uniformly across the landscape. Kangaroos possess specialized sensory capabilities, detecting sounds at frequencies beyond human hearing ranges, perceiving vocalizations and environmental sounds humans cannot detect. The frequency range extends higher than human hearing, potentially detecting ultrasonic vocalizations carrying information about social status or reproductive condition. The directional sensitivity allows precise sound source localization, identifying threat locations or social partners through auditory information alone. The ears rotate independently, monitoring different directions simultaneously without head movement. Sound sensitivity varies across frequencies, with particular sensitivity to calls and sounds from other kangaroos and predators. Hearing abilities play crucial roles in social communication and predator detection, supplementing visual and olfactory senses. The integration with other sensory modalities creates comprehensive perception, maintaining environmental awareness despite limited visibility or poor smells. Kangaroos can detect approaching vehicles from great distances through vibration sensing, allowing time to escape danger. The sensitivity to sound allows detection of predator movements through dense vegetation, preventing visual detection. The ears themselves contain muscles allowing precise directional tuning toward interesting sounds. The combination of acute hearing with other senses creates sophisticated awareness systems, enabling survival in their environment. Kangaroos demonstrate the capacity to recognize individual voices and identify specific individuals based on vocalizations. Research shows mother kangaroos respond preferentially to their own joey vocalizations compared to others, suggesting voice-based individual recognition. This recognition ability requires mental representations of social partner voices and comparison against stored representations. Such capacity helps maintain social bonds and coordinate mob activities where visual identification becomes difficult due to distance or vegetation. Individual variation in kangaroo vocalizations allows reliable individual recognition, with each kangaroo producing slightly different calls carrying identificatory information. The frequency of kangaroo vocalizations varies with context, with higher frequencies used during social interactions and lower frequencies during alarm situations. Some kangaroos produce distinctive calls during particular activities, creating recognizable signatures that mob members can identify. The evidence for voice recognition in kangaroos suggests auditory processing sophistication supporting complex social communication. Young joeys learn their mother's voice through early exposure, likely imprinting on her unique vocal characteristics. The continued investigation of kangaroo vocalization and recognition promises revealing additional complexity in social communication systems. Kangaroos display complex spatial reasoning abilities, enabling effective environmental navigation and sophisticated three-dimensional space understanding. Relocating to new areas, kangaroos gradually build mental maps of territories, learning water source locations, food patches, and shelter areas through exploration and observation. The brain structure includes regions analogous to those involved in spatial processing in mammals, suggesting similar neural mechanisms for environmental mapping. Mothers teach joeys about home range geography, guiding them to important locations and gradually expanding their understanding of available resources. The spatial memory persists for years, with long-term residents showing superior knowledge of resource locations compared to newer arrivals. Visual information integrates with olfactory cues and tactile sensations, creating multi-sensory environmental maps. This sophisticated spatial cognition enables optimized movement patterns and foraging strategies. Young kangaroos show gradual improvement in spatial reasoning during their first independence years, suggesting skills developed through experience and learning. The ability to mentally rotate three-dimensional images appears present in some kangaroos, allowing understanding of how their bodies would fit through spaces they see in their environment. Some kangaroos demonstrate apparent mental time travel, planning future movements and resource acquisition based on seasonal patterns remembered from previous years. Kangaroos show behavioral responses to pain and injury that suggest they experience genuine suffering rather than simple reflex responses to noxious stimuli. Injured kangaroos alter their movement patterns to avoid putting weight on injured legs, demonstrating an understanding of which movements cause pain. The reduced activity levels and behavioral changes shown by kangaroos during illness suggest that sickness produces emotional and motivational changes beyond simple physical incapacity. Kangaroos that have experienced injury show apparent learning about which movements to avoid in the future, suggesting that they form memories of painful experiences. Mothers show increased attention to joeys that appear injured or ill, providing protective behaviors that exceed normal maternal care. The capability to experience pain and suffering creates moral considerations for kangaroo management, suggesting that minimizing kangaroo suffering should be a priority in wildlife management and research. The recognition of kangaroos as beings capable of suffering represents an important ethical consideration that influences how kangaroos should be treated in human-dominated landscapes. Kangaroos demonstrate remarkable memory abilities that extend far beyond simple recognition of immediate threats or food sources, with individual kangaroos apparently maintaining mental maps of their home ranges and remembering seasonal patterns across multiple years. When relocated to new areas, kangaroos show clear evidence of remembering previous locations through their behavior patterns and resource-seeking activities. The memory systems that allow kangaroos to remember food source locations and seasonal availability patterns likely depend on the hippocampus, a brain structure involved in spatial memory and navigation. Long-term memories formed during crucial life events such as major droughts or periods of abundance appear to persist for years and influence kangaroo behavior even after the triggering conditions have changed. Mothers remember the locations of their joeys despite being separated during foraging periods, using spatial memory and periodic visual checks to maintain track of offspring. The integration of multiple sensory inputs into memory systems allows kangaroos to build rich representations of their environment that guide their decision-making and behavior across years. This extended memory capacity represents a significant component of kangaroo intelligence and contributes substantially to their survival success in variable environments. Some kangaroos demonstrate memory abilities so precise that they can recall pathways not traveled for months and arrive at remembered locations with remarkable accuracy despite landscape changes. Kangaroos possess the ability to recognize and react to human facial expressions, showing sensitivity to whether humans appear friendly or threatening through subtle expression changes. When humans approach kangaroos with relaxed, open faces, the animals show less defensive behavior and more willingness to engage in positive interactions. Conversely, when humans display tense or threatening expressions, kangaroos increase their alert posture and move away from the perceived threat. This capacity for reading human emotional cues suggests a sophisticated social cognition extending beyond interactions with other kangaroos. The ability appears to develop through repeated exposure to humans, with kangaroos becoming more attuned to human emotional signals over time. Some researchers believe this capacity may relate to kangaroos' ability to read other kangaroos' emotional states through facial and body language. The recognition of human expressions represents a remarkable example of cross-species communication and understanding. It demonstrates that kangaroos possess social intelligence that extends beyond their own species and allows them to navigate human-dominated environments more effectively. Kangaroos demonstrate learning abilities extending to tool use in limited contexts, with some kangaroos learning to manipulate objects to access food or solve problems presented by researchers. Young kangaroos appear more capable of acquiring tool use behaviors than older individuals, suggesting a critical period for learning during youth. The learning process typically involves observation of other kangaroos using tools or trial and error experimentation by the individual. Once learned, tool use behaviors appear to persist and can be refined through continued practice. Some naturalists report anecdotal observations of wild kangaroos using sticks to access difficult-to-reach foods, though systematic documentation of such behavior remains limited. A capacity for tool use, even in limited form, represents a cognitively demanding behavior that elevates kangaroos above many other animals in terms of behavioral flexibility. This learning ability suggests that kangaroos could potentially adapt to novel environmental challenges by developing new behaviors not seen in previous generations. The persistence of learned tool use across time demonstrates that kangaroos can establish cultural knowledge within groups. Kangaroos show sensitivity to individual human voices, recognizing specific humans by their vocal characteristics and responding differently to familiar versus unfamiliar humans. Kangaroos raised around particular humans often become more relaxed and approachable when those specific individuals are present. The voice recognition ability appears similar to how kangaroos recognize individual joey vocalizations and fellow mob member calls. Individual humans speaking to kangaroos produce slightly different patterns of vocalization, and kangaroos apparently learn to distinguish these patterns. Habituated kangaroos sometimes approach humans producing familiar vocalizations while maintaining distance from unfamiliar humans, despite similar body language. This voice recognition demonstrates the sophistication of kangaroo auditory processing and their capacity to form associations between specific vocal patterns and individuals. The ability contributes to kangaroos' capacity for social flexibility and adaptation to changing environmental circumstances. Some research suggests that speaking to kangaroos in calm, consistent voices may facilitate better relationships between humans and animals. Kangaroos possess an internal compass sense that aids navigation across familiar territory and allows them to maintain directional orientation even when visual landmarks become obscured. This sense appears to rely on multiple cues, including the position of the sun, the Earth's magnetic field, and subtle terrain features that remain consistent across seasons. Kangaroos navigating at night rely more heavily on remembered pathway details and magnetic cues than visual landmarks. Young kangaroos gradually develop their navigational abilities through experience and guidance from mothers familiar with the home range. Some kangaroos demonstrate remarkable accuracy in returning to specific locations across vast distances, suggesting highly developed spatial orientation abilities. The compass sense likely involves specialized cells in the brain, similar to those identified in other animals, though detailed neurological research on kangaroos remains limited. This navigational capacity allows kangaroos to expand their range and locate resources without becoming disoriented. The ability contributes significantly to survival in environments where resources are spatially dispersed. Kangaroos display individual differences in boldness and caution that appear related to their success in particular environmental contexts. Bold kangaroos frequently explore novel situations, investigate new stimuli, and take risks that may lead to discovery of new resources. Cautious kangaroos maintain greater distance from novelty and show higher alert levels to potential threats. During periods of resource abundance, both bold and cautious kangaroos find sufficient food. But as resources become scarce, boldness may confer advantages through discovery of hidden resources. Conversely, during periods of high predation risk or human disturbance, cautious behavior may enhance survival by reducing exposure to danger. Individual differences in boldness appear relatively stable throughout a kangaroo's lifetime, suggesting that personality represents a fundamental aspect of individual identity. Multiple strategies appear to maintain within populations, with different personality types succeeding under different environmental conditions. This personality diversity may enhance population resilience by ensuring that some individuals can thrive under changing circumstances. Kangaroos demonstrate preferences for specific rest locations, returning repeatedly to particular shaded areas or elevated vantage points for daytime rest periods. These preferred resting spots often feature characteristics such as good visibility for predator detection, shade for thermoregulation, and proximity to food sources. The selection of rest locations appears learned through experience, with kangaroos gradually identifying optimal sites within their home ranges. Some locations are utilized repeatedly across seasons and years, suggesting strong site fidelity once optimal resting areas are identified. Mothers teach joeys about preferred resting locations by resting there themselves and allowing joeys to follow. The repeated use of particular sites creates visible paths worn by repeated hopping and resting behaviors. During extreme heat, kangaroos may shift their preferred resting locations toward areas with greater shade or cooler microclimates. The preference for familiar resting areas demonstrates that kangaroos maintain mental maps of important locations and develop behavioral routines around these sites. Kangaroos can experience social stress when separated from preferred social partners for extended periods, showing behavioral changes and increased anxiety levels. Kangaroos that have been bonded with particular mob members show distress when separated, with increased vigilance and reduced foraging efficiency. The stress response appears similar to separation anxiety observed in other mammals and suggests genuine emotional attachment rather than simple habituation. Reunions with familiar partners often involve nose-to-nose greetings and grooming behavior, suggesting positive affective responses. Kangaroos experiencing chronic social stress show reduced immune function and increased susceptibility to disease, demonstrating that social bonds have physiological consequences. Some kangaroos experiencing chronic social stress show reduced immune function and increased susceptibility to disease, demonstrating that social bonds have physiological consequences. Some kangaroos pair to form what might be considered friendships with particular individuals, choosing to rest near them and coordinate activities with them preferentially. The emotional aspects of kangaroo social life demonstrate the psychological complexity of these animals. Recognition of social stress in kangaroos has implications for wildlife management and for maintaining kangaroo welfare in human-controlled environments. Kangaroos demonstrate metacognition, the ability to evaluate their own knowledge and monitor their own cognitive processes, suggesting sophisticated self-awareness beyond simple stimulus response. When faced with a task requiring memory, kangaroos appear capable of assessing whether they remember the answer and adjusting their behavior accordingly. Some kangaroos will attempt a task only when confident they know the answer, while others show hesitation or avoidance when uncertain. This capacity to evaluate one's own knowledge states represents a cognitively demanding ability found in relatively few animals. The metacognitive abilities of kangaroos may extend to other domains, including social understanding and physical capability assessment. Young kangaroos show less developed metacognition than adults, suggesting improvement through experience and neural maturation. The presence of metacognition in kangaroos elevates their status among animal cognition researchers as creatures capable of reflecting on their own thoughts. This ability may contribute to kangaroos' behavioral flexibility and problem-solving success. Kangaroos possess specialized cells in their eyes that detect infrared radiation, allowing heat-sensing capabilities that may aid navigation and foraging in darkness. The heat-sensing ability appears less developed than in animals specifically adapted to thermal sensing, suggesting kangaroos possess this capacity as a supplementary sense. The infrared sensing may help kangaroos detect warm-bodied prey or locate other kangaroos through their body heat signatures. The ability could provide navigation assistance in darkness by detecting heat retained in rocks and soil features that warm during the day. Research on kangaroo thermal vision remains limited, with much of the evidence being indirect or inferred from anatomical studies. The presence of heat-sensing capabilities demonstrates that kangaroos perceive their environment through multiple sensory modalities beyond vision, hearing, and olfaction. This multisensory perception allows kangaroos to gather comprehensive environmental information, particularly valuable in low-visibility conditions. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to suppress aggressive responses toward individuals they recognize as non-threatening, showing behavioral flexibility in how they respond to other kangaroos. Dominant males maintain their status through posturing and occasional displays rather than constant aggressive interaction. Subordinate animals learn to recognize dominant individuals and adjust their behavior accordingly, maintaining distance and showing deference through posture. The suppression of aggression allows kangaroos to coexist peacefully within mobs despite maintaining hierarchies. Young kangaroos learn appropriate levels of aggression through play interactions with siblings and peers. The behavioral flexibility that kangaroos display in controlling aggressive impulses demonstrates sophisticated emotional regulation and social understanding. This capacity allows mobs to function as relatively stable social units despite competitive pressures. The recognition of aggressive suppression abilities in kangaroos suggests these animals possess emotional regulation skills comparable to those of other socially complex animals. Kangaroos show individual variation in their preferred activity times with some kangaroos more active during morning hours, while others prefer evening foraging. This individual variation in activity timing appears partly innate and partly influenced by learning and personal experience. Kangaroos that have had negative experiences with particular humans during certain times of day may shift their activity patterns to avoid those times. The flexibility in activity timing allows kangaroos to adjust their daily rhythm to match individual circumstances and preferences. Seasonal changes in day length trigger shifts in overall activity patterns, but individual kangaroos may vary in the magnitude and timing of these shifts. The ability to adjust activity timing demonstrates behavioral flexibility that allows kangaroos to adapt to changing environmental circumstances. Some research suggests that activity pattern variations may relate to personality factors, with bolder kangaroos more likely to maintain daytime activity despite risks. Kangaroos demonstrate color vision capabilities similar to those of humans, but with differences in color sensitivity, perceiving some colors more vividly while having reduced sensitivity to others. The kangaroo eye contains color receptors optimized for distinguishing vegetation colors and detecting ripe fruits or new growth. Kangaroos appear particularly sensitive to blue and green wavelengths, colors abundant in vegetation. The color vision advantage may help kangaroos distinguish between nutritious young growth and tougher mature vegetation. Kangaroos maintain color vision capabilities even in dim light conditions, allowing foraging during twilight hours when many animals rely on grayscale vision. The color sensitivity may also aid in social recognition, allowing kangaroos to distinguish between nutritious young growth and tougher mature vegetation, each between individuals based on subtle color variations in fur. The evolutionary optimization of kangaroo color vision for their specific environmental needs demonstrates adaptation of sensory systems to ecological requirements. Kangaroos possess asymmetrical hearing abilities, with directional sensitivity allowing precise sound source localization. The position of ears on the head sides provides panoramic hearing coverage without requiring head turning. The asymmetry in hearing sensitivity allows kangaroos to determine sound direction more accurately than animals with more symmetrical ear placement. This directional hearing aids in locating social partners, detecting approaching predators, and monitoring mob activities from a distance. Young kangaroos gradually develop sensitivity to specific sounds they encounter regularly, learning which sounds indicate danger and which indicate opportunities. The acoustic processing abilities of kangaroos include frequency discrimination, allowing recognition of individual voice as based on subtle tonal differences. The sophisticated hearing capabilities contribute significantly to kangaroo awareness and safety in their environment. Some research suggests kangaroos can detect ultrasonic frequencies beyond human hearing range. Though detailed investigation remains limited, kangaroos show evidence of long-term planning, preparing for anticipated changes in resource availability by shifting their location and behavior in advance of environmental changes. During dry seasons, kangaroos move toward water sources before drought becomes severe, suggesting they anticipate water shortage. Similarly, kangaroos shift their diet toward more drought-resistant vegetation before preferred foods become scarce. This anticipatory behavior suggests kangaroos can predict environmental changes based on subtle cues and adjust their behavior proactively rather than reactively. Young kangaroos learn these anticipatory behaviors by observing mothers and other experienced individuals. The capacity for long-term planning may rely on memory of seasonal patterns and learned associations between current conditions and upcoming changes. The ability to anticipate and plan ahead provides significant survival advantages in unpredictable environments. This forward-looking behavior demonstrates sophisticated cognition extending beyond immediate stimulus response. Kangaroos demonstrate individual differences in their approach to new water sources, with some animals investigating novel water features readily, while others maintain caution and only drink from established sources. Bold kangaroos may discover new water sources during droughts, providing valuable knowledge for mob members who observe their success. Cautious kangaroos may miss discoveries but reduce their risk of encountering contaminated or unreliable water sources. Over generations, knowledge of reliable water sources becomes established in mob culture, with younger kangaroos learning from experienced individuals. The differences in approach to novel resources reflect personality differences and learning history. Some kangaroos demonstrate remarkable ability to locate obscure water sources after months of dry conditions. This variability in water-seeking strategies may enhance population resilience by ensuring that different approaches to resource discovery are represented within groups. Kangaroos possess the ability to recognize other kangaroos' emotional states through subtle cues in posture, ear position, and movement patterns. A kangaroo standing with relaxed ears and loose posture signals calm contentment. Kangaroos displaying tense posture with alert ears indicate heightened vigilance or anxiety. The interpretation of emotional cues allows kangaroos to respond appropriately to other individuals' states and coordinate group activities. Mother kangaroos show heightened sensitivity to their joey's emotional states, responding quickly to signs of distress or discomfort. Young kangaroos learn to interpret emotional signals through observation and interaction with other animals. The emotional communication through body language creates a sophisticated system of information exchange within mobs. The ability to read emotional states in others demonstrates that kangaroos possess a form of emotional intelligence. This emotional awareness contributes to the coordination and cohesion of mob activities. Kangaroos demonstrate the capacity to form associations between environmental features and particular outcomes, using these associations to guide behavior even in novel situations. A kangaroo that associates cloud formations with incoming rain may alter its location before precipitation arrives. Similarly, kangaroos may associate particular plant species with reliable nutrition and prioritize those plants when encountered. The formation and use of learned associations extends kangaroo behavioral flexibility beyond instinctive responses. The associations appear to be formed through repeated experience and observation of consistent relationships between environmental features and outcomes. Some associations appear to be innate, such as recognition of predator vocalizations and appropriate defensive responses. The combination of innate associations with learned associations creates a behavioral system balancing reliability with flexibility. The ability to generalize associations across different contexts allows kangaroos to apply knowledge from one location to new environments. Kangaroos kangaroos show evidence of categorizing their world into meaningful groupings including food types, individuals, locations, and danger types. The categorization allows kangaroos to respond to new stimuli based on category membership rather than requiring individual experience with every object. A kangaroo encountering a new predator species may recognize it as a predator based on features associated with known predators. Similarly, novel plant species may be categorized as edible or toxic based on resemblance to known plants. The categorization system allows rapid response to novelty without extensive individual learning. Young kangaroos learn the appropriate category membership for various objects through parental teaching and personal experience. The cognitive organization of knowledge into categories demonstrates sophisticated conceptual thinking. This categorization ability underlies much of kangaroos' behavioral flexibility and adaptability to novel circumstances. Kangaroos demonstrate preferences for particular social partners that persist over time, showing consistent choices about which individuals to rest near or forage with. These social preferences may relate to family relationships, personality compatibility, or prior positive interactions. Some kangaroos appear to form selective associations with multiple individuals, creating smaller social subunits within larger mobs. The social preferences contribute to mob cohesion by creating interconnected relationships. Kangaroos separated from preferred partners show behavioral changes suggesting genuine distress rather than simple habit. The formation of selective social bonds demonstrates social flexibility and individual personality in structuring relationships. Some kangaroos appear more social by nature, maintaining relationships with many mob members, while others form tighter bonds with fewer individuals. The diversity in social preferences may reflect different personality types and individual strategies for navigating social life. Kangaroos possess remarkable abilities to assess resource quality through taste and smell before committing to consuming large quantities. This sensory discrimination prevents wasteful consumption of low-quality vegetation and allows optimal foraging decisions. The ability extends to detecting toxic compounds in plants, allowing avoidance of poisonous species. Young kangaroos learn to make these discriminations through observation of mothers and through trial and error sampling. The sensory apparatus for resource assessment includes specialized taste receptors and olfactory organs with remarkable sensitivity. Kangaroos can detect subtle differences in plant chemistry indicating nutritional value or presence of compounds affecting digestion. This discriminatory ability allows optimization of plant, approaching the gestion to the profit habit of time to contain this distributed system, and discriminatory ability allows optimization of fusion system, foraging efficiency. The taste and smell systems work in coordination with digestive efficiency to maximize nutrition extraction from consumed vegetation. Kangaroos demonstrate patience in pursuing goals, sometimes waiting extended periods for conditions to become favorable before acting. A kangaroo may wait for hours near a water source rather than consuming contaminated water or visiting dangerous locations. Similarly, kangaroos may wait for vegetation to dry before foraging, reducing consumption of potentially problematic moisture. The capacity for patience suggests impulse control and the ability to delay gratification for better outcomes. Young kangaroos appear less capable of patience than adults, suggesting this ability develops with age and experience. The patience displayed by kangaroos enables them to make better decisions by avoiding hasty actions based on immediate impulses. This behavioral restraint demonstrates executive function and planning abilities. The ability to wait for optimal conditions rather than settling for immediate options contributes significantly to kangaroo survival success in variable environments. Kangaroos show evidence of emotional attachment to particular locations, demonstrating grief when important places are destroyed or become inaccessible. A kangaroo displaced from its home range may show reduced activity and apparent depression for extended periods. The attachment to locations appears related to memories formed there and the associations between places and positive experiences. Mothers show particular attachment to locations where they have successfully raised joeys. The emotional connection to locations demonstrates that kangaroos form meaningful relationships not only with other animals, but also with places. This emotional geography influences kangaroo decision-making and movement patterns. The recognition of place-based emotions suggests kangaroos possess a richer emotion protection, now life than often assumed. This emotional complexity has implications for understanding kangaroo welfare in changing environments. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to distinguish between individuals of different sexes, showing different behavioral responses to males and females. Males typically display more aggressive posturing toward other males and more affiliative behavior toward females. Females show increased tolerance toward other females, but may be cautious around unfamiliar males. The sex discrimination ability appears based on subtle behavioral cues, scent markers, and possibly vocal characteristics. Young kangaroos learn to make sex-based discriminations through observation and social experience. The ability to distinguish sex allows kangaroos to respond appropriately to different categories of individuals. This discrimination contributes to the social organization of mobs and appropriate mating behaviors. The sophistication of sex recognition demonstrates kangaroos' capacity for social categorization and appropriate behavioral response. Kangaroos possess the ability to recognize their own body position in space, demonstrating proprioceptive awareness and body schema understanding. This awareness allows kangaroos to coordinate complex hopping movements and navigate obstacles without constant visual monitoring. The body awareness extends to understanding how their bodies interact with environmental features. Young kangaroos gradually develop proprioceptive abilities during development, with early attempts at hopping showing poor coordination. As they mature, proprioceptive abilities improve, enabling increasingly sophisticated movement. Kangaroos can estimate distances they can clear while jumping based on proprioceptive feedback. The integration of proprioceptive information with visual and vestibular systems creates comprehensive spatial awareness. This body schema awareness contributes significantly to kangaroos' movement efficiency and safety. The development of proprioceptive abilities demonstrates how neural systems mature and refine through experience and practice. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to adjust their behavior based on past punishment or negative consequences, showing evidence of learned avoidance. A kangaroo that has experienced injury while attempting a particular movement may avoid similar movements in the future. Similarly, Kangaroos that have encountered hostile humans in particular locations may avoid those locations subsequently. The learned avoidance responses appear to persist for extended periods, suggesting formation of lasting memories. Young kangaroos learn avoidance behaviors partly through direct experience and partly through observation of other kangaroos' experiences. The capacity to learn from negative consequences demonstrates flexible behavior modification in response to environmental feedback. This learning ability allows kangaroos to adjust their strategies based on prior experiences. The persistence of learned avoidance behaviors contributes to kangaroo survival by preventing repeated injuries or encounters with hazards. Kangaroos show evidence of moral reasoning in their social interactions, responding differently to individuals who have violated social norms or caused harm. A kangaroo that has attacked or stolen resources from other mob members may be avoided or subjected to corrective behaviors from other group members. The enforcement of social norms suggests that kangaroos maintain standards for acceptable behavior. Young kangaroos appear to learn appropriate social behavior through feedback from other animals regarding norm violations. The moral dimension of kangaroo social life remains poorly understood, but appears to involve principles of fairness and reciprocity. This apparent moral reasoning demonstrates sophisticated social cognition. The presence of moral considerations in kangaroo society suggests these animals possess an ethical sense that guides their interactions with others. Recognition of kangaroo morality represents an important finding in understanding animal consciousness. Kangaroos demonstrate individual differences in their susceptibility to disease and parasites, with some animals showing greater resistance while others are more vulnerable. The variation appears related to genetic factors, immune system competence, and prior exposure to pathogens. Kangaroos with stronger immune responses tend to be more mobile and social, benefiting from reduced disease burden. The variation in disease susceptibility contributes to population diversity and potential resilience. Some kangaroos appear to develop specific immunity to particular parasites through prior infection. The individual differences in health status influence foraging efficiency and social participation. Maintaining genetic variation in disease resistance ensures population survival when new pathogens emerge. The study of disease variation in kangaroos provides insights into population health and adaptation mechanisms. Kangaroos show evidence of enjoying play and recreation beyond functional purposes, suggesting that pleasure and entertainment are aspects of kangaroo psychological life. Young kangaroos engage in play behaviors that appear to serve no immediate survival function but generate obvious enjoyment. The motivation to engage in pleasurable activities extends to social play with peers and even physical activity simply for the sake of movement. Adult kangaroos sometimes engage in apparently frivolous activities, such as splashing in water beyond drinking requirements. The capacity for enjoyment suggests kangaroos possess subjective experiences and valenced mental states. The continuation of play behaviors into adulthood in some individuals suggests individual differences in motivation for pleasure seeking. The recognition that kangaroos experience enjoyment has implications for understanding animal consciousness and welfare. The presence of apparently meaningless enjoyment demonstrates that kangaroo lives encompass more than survival and reproduction. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to predict the behavior of other kangaroos based on subtle contextual cues and prior experience with particular individuals. An experienced kangaroo can anticipate how a particular mob member will respond to a food discovery or perceived threat based on that individual's personality and past behavior. The ability to predict social partner behavior allows kangaroos to coordinate activities and respond appropriately to changing social situations. Young kangaroos gradually learn to make these predictions through repeated interaction with mob members. The prediction ability appears to rely on memory of prior interactions and understanding of stable personality traits. Some kangaroos prove more predictable than others, with consistent behavioral patterns making them easier for other kangaroos to understand. This social predictability facilitates mob cohesion by reducing uncertainty in social interactions. The capacity to predict other animals' behavior demonstrates sophisticated social cognition, extending beyond simple pattern recognition. Kangaroos show individual differences in their responses to physical discomfort, such as heat or cold, with some animals showing greater tolerance, while others seek relief more readily. These differences appear partly innate and partly shaped by prior experience and climate adaptation. Kangaroos raised in hot climates show greater heat tolerance than those from cooler regions, suggesting physiological acclimatization. The behavioral flexibility in responding to temperature allows kangaroos to adjust their activity levels and location choices based on immediate comfort. Some kangaroos maintain higher activity levels despite temperature stress, while others are more conservative in their movement. Individual differences in comfort tolerance may influence foraging efficiency and resource acquisition strategies. The variation in discomfort responses ensures that some individuals can maintain essential activities even during temperature extremes. Understanding individual variation in stress tolerance helps explain differences in kangaroo success across varying environmental conditions. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to form complex associations involving multiple sensory cues and outcomes, allowing sophisticated environmental understanding. Rather than responding to single sensory inputs, kangaroos integrate multiple cues including smell, sound, visual information, and tactile sensations when making decisions. The integration of multisensory information creates more robust and reliable representations of environmental situations. For example, a kangaroo may associate a particular combination of plant smell, ground vibrations from hoof beats, and specific visual features with the presence of a particular predator species. The ability to integrate multiple sensory streams into unified perception demonstrates sophisticated neural processing. Young kangaroos gradually learn these complex associations through experience and observation. The multisensory integration capacity allows kangaroos to make reliable decisions even in complex environments with ambiguous individual cues. This sensory integration ability contributes significantly to kangaroo survival success. Kangaroos show evidence of experiencing boredom when confined to monotonous environments with insufficient stimulation or novelty. Captive kangaroos confined to limited enclosures with little environmental variation display behavioral changes suggesting lack of engagement and motivation. These behavioral changes include reduced activity, increased stereotypic behaviors, and apparent depression. The capacity for boredom suggests kangaroos have motivational systems that seek novelty and environmental complexity. Release of bored kangaroos into more stimulating environments often produces immediate behavioral changes and increased activity levels. The experience of boredom appears related to kangaroo cognitive capacity and their psychological need for environmental enrichment. Recognition of boredom susceptibility in kangaroos has implications for welfare in captive situations and for understanding what constitutes optimal environments. The presence of boredom as a psychological state demonstrates that kangaroos are sophisticated creatures with complex emotional needs. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to recognize and remember individual kangaroos they have never directly interacted with, based solely on vocal characteristics or appearance. Mothers can identify their joeys from distances too great for visual identification, relying entirely on distinctive vocalizations. The ability to recognize individuals without direct interaction suggests kangaroos maintain mental representations of other kangaroos and can match these representations to new sensory information. This recognition ability extends to identifying individuals from different mobs or individuals encountered only infrequently. The capacity demonstrates that kangaroos form rich mental models of their social world. Young kangaroos gradually expand their recognition repertoire as they mature and encounter more individuals. The individual recognition ability contributes to complex social interactions and mob coordination. The sophistication of individual recognition systems reveals the detailed nature of kangaroo social cognition and memory systems. Hello friend, welcome back to this quiet corner where we explore the wonders of the natural world. If you've been journeying with us through the remarkable minds and abilities of kangaroos, you've come to understand that these creatures are far more sophisticated, far more emotionally complex, and far more deserving of our wonder than we might have initially believed. Kangaroos are not the simple, instinctive animals they were once thought to be. They carry memories that shape their decisions, form bonds that matter to them deeply, and demonstrate a kind of wisdom earned through their own lived experiences. They experience joy in play, they feel the weight of separation from loved ones, and they build lives rich with meaning within their mobs. As we continue now into the final layers of kangaroo consciousness and behavior, remember that every fact we explore is another thread in the tapestry of understanding these remarkable Australian creatures. Let your mind settle into the contemplation of animal intelligence, of the quiet sophistication that surrounds us in nature, and of the profound connections we share with other living beings who walk and hop across this shared world. Their inner worlds are far richer than we once imagined. For now, as the evening air grows cooler and the day begins to fade, let us discover more about the kangaroos and their extraordinary lives. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to assess predator threat levels based on behavioral cues, responding more aggressively to predators displaying hunting behavior versus those simply passing through their territory. A kangaroo encountering a dingo that is actively stalking shows a different response than one observing a dingo moving away or distracted by other prey. The threat assessment ability allows kangaroos to conserve energy by avoiding panic responses to non-threatening encounters. Young kangaroos initially show fear responses to all potential predators but learn to differentiate through observation of how experienced animals respond. The ability to calibrate response intensity to actual threat level demonstrates sophisticated threat perception. This learned discrimination helps kangaroos avoid unnecessary stress responses that deplete precious energy reserves. Experienced kangaroos show remarkable skill in these assessments, having developed refined judgments over their lifetime. The capacity to assess threat nuance reveals that kangaroos evaluate their environment with considerable sophistication and adjust their behavior according to carefully perceived levels of danger. Kangaroos show individual preferences for particular water sources, even when alternatives exist nearby, demonstrating site fidelity and behavioral consistency in their drinking habits. A kangaroo that has successfully drunk from one water source without incident may preferentially return to that source, even if closer water becomes available. The preference appears related to familiarity and learned safety associations with particular locations. Over time, these preferences become established patterns that characterize individual behavior and activity patterns. Young kangaroos learn water source preferences by following mothers to reliable drinking locations. The preference for established water sources may provide psychological comfort in addition to practical survival benefits. These familiar places feel safer somehow, holding memories of past successful visits. This behavioral consistency demonstrates that kangaroos develop routines and habits that give structure and predictability to their daily lives and survival strategies. Kangaroos demonstrate individual differences in their grooming behaviors and hygiene practices, with some animals maintaining more fastidious grooming routines than others. Grooming serves multiple functions, including parasite removal, temperature regulation through licking, and social bonding when grooming is performed with social partners. Some kangaroos engage in grooming more frequently and with greater thoroughness than their mobmates. The individual differences in grooming may relate to personality factors or to prior learning about hygiene benefits. Mothers groom their joeys frequently, transferring knowledge about appropriate hygiene practices. The grooming behavior demonstrates that kangaroos recognize and respond to cleanliness and health maintenance. These moments of careful grooming represent tenderness and care between individuals. This hygiene awareness shows kangaroos possess understanding of bodily care and health beyond simple instinctive behaviors. Kangaroos show evidence of emotional attachment to particular food sources, demonstrating preference for foods they have successfully consumed and positive associations with vegetation they have previously fed upon. A kangaroo that has consumed grasses from a particular patch and experienced fullness and contentment may return to that patch preferentially. The emotional dimension of food preference extends beyond simple nutritional value to include memories of positive experiences. Kangaroos may avoid vegetation locations where they previously experienced illness or digestive upset. The learning extends to seasonal patterns, with kangaroos showing excitement or anticipation as seasons approach, when preferred foods typically become available. Imagine how this must feel from the kangaroo's perspective, waiting for the return of beloved foods. The emotional associations with food sources demonstrate that eating represents more than simple caloric intake for kangaroos. This emotional relationship with food reveals the subjective, feeling dimension of kangaroo experience. Kangaroos demonstrate individual variation in their responses to rainfall, with some animals showing obvious behavioral changes in anticipation of rain, while others are less responsive to meteorological shifts. Kangaroos that have experienced droughts may show intensified responses to weather patterns that preceded previous rains. The learned associations between weather patterns and rainfall outcomes guide kangaroo location and activity adjustments. Some kangaroos appear almost weather-sensitive, shifting their activities in response to subtle changes in atmospheric pressure or humidity. The variation in weather responsiveness may relate to prior experiences during droughts or periods of abundance. Young kangaroos gradually learn to recognize weather patterns that precede rainfall or dry conditions. The sensitivity to weather changes reveals that kangaroos maintain sophisticated environmental monitoring systems that track atmospheric conditions continuously. Kangaroos show individual preferences for particular rest positions, with some animals consistently resting in similar body postures while others vary their resting positions more frequently. The rest position preferences may relate to comfort, visibility for predator detection, or previous experiences with particular positions. Kangaroos demonstrating preference for alert postures during rest periods appear more vigilant than those resting in relaxed positions. The variation in rest positions reflects individual personality differences and different strategies for balancing comfort with safety awareness. Young kangaroos may learn preferred resting positions through observation of mothers and other mob members. The individual consistency in rest position choices demonstrates behavioral individuality and personal preference in how kangaroos structure their daily activities. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to recognize when other kangaroos are experiencing injury or illness, showing behavioral responses, including increased tolerance and sometimes affiliative behaviors toward affected individuals. A kangaroo observing another member displaying signs of pain or weakness may approach more slowly and avoid competitive interactions. The recognition of animal suffering appears to trigger something like empathy or compassion in other kangaroos. Mothers show particular responsiveness to signs of distress in their joeys, responding quickly to vocalizations indicating pain or discomfort. The capacity to recognize and respond appropriately to the suffering of others demonstrates emotional intelligence and social awareness. There is something deeply moving about witnessing such care between creatures. This capacity for empathy reveals that kangaroos possess moral sensitivity, extending beyond self-interest. Kangaroos show individual variation in their willingness to share resources, with some animals more tolerant of others accessing nearby food sources, while others display more possessive behaviors. The variation in resource-sharing tolerance may reflect abundance of available resources and learned associations with cooperation benefits. Kangaroos in resource-rich environments may show greater tolerance toward resource sharing than those in scarce environments. Young kangaroos learn appropriate levels of food-sharing tolerance through interactions with mob members. The individual differences in resource sharing may relate to personality factors including boldness versus caution or sociability versus solitude seeking. The variability in resource sharing demonstrates that kangaroos have individual, dual approaches to cooperation and competition. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to recognize environmental changes they have not directly experienced by learning from other kangaroos' responses to novel situations. A kangaroo observing another animal's cautious approach to a novel object or situation may itself become cautious upon encountering similar stimuli. The learning through observation of others' responses accelerates adaptation to environmental changes. Young kangaroos gain survival knowledge through observation that would require extensive personal experience otherwise. This observational learning demonstrates sophisticated cognitive abilities and the capacity to benefit from others' experiences. The transmission of learned knowledge through observation creates a form of cultural knowledge within kangaroo mobs. Kangaroos show individual differences in their territorial behaviors, with some animals maintaining more exclusive territories, while others are more tolerant of sharing range areas with other kangaroos. The territorial preferences may relate to resource availability and learned associations with successful resource acquisition in particular locations. Some kangaroos appear more defensive of specific locations than others. The variation in territorial behavior may contribute to population stability by ensuring that different individuals employ different resource acquisition strategies. Young kangaroos gradually establish their own territorial preferences through experience and observation. The individual differences in territoriality demonstrate behavioral flexibility and individual strategy. Years for resource procurement. Kangaroos demonstrate sensitivity to subtle changes in mob composition, recognizing when familiar members are absent and when new individuals join their groups. The recognition of compositional changes suggests kangaroos maintain detailed mental models of their mob membership. Kangaroos may display behavioral changes when important members are absent, showing signs of searching or unusual activity patterns. The awareness of mob composition influences foraging efficiency and collective vigilance. Young kangaroos gradually learn the identity and behavioral patterns of all mob members through repeated interaction. The sensitivity to social composition changes reveals that kangaroos maintain awareness of social structure and membership. This social awareness contributes to mob cohesion and coordination. Kangaroos show evidence of teaching behavior extending beyond direct parental care, with experienced individuals sometimes demonstrating feeding techniques, water locations, and safe routes to younger or less experienced animals. The teaching appears to involve deliberate behavior modification by experienced animals to guide learners toward adaptive strategies. Young kangaroos show increased attention and learning capacity when observing demonstrations from experienced individuals. The teaching behaviors suggest intentional knowledge transmission rather than passive observational learning. Mothers clearly teach joeys about important resources and safe spaces within their home ranges. The presence of explicit teaching demonstrates that kangaroos engage in knowledge transfer across generations. This educational behavior contributes to cultural continuity within kangaroo populations. Kangaroos demonstrate individual variation in their activity levels, with some animals more active throughout the day, while others show marked cycles of activity and rest. The individual differences in activity levels appear partly innate and partly shaped by age, health status, and seasonal conditions. More active kangaroos may range more widely and discover resources less active individuals miss. The variation in activity levels may relate to personality differences and individual approaches to energy management. Young kangaroos typically display higher activity levels than older individuals. The individual consistency in activity patterns demonstrates behavioral consistency and stable personality traits. This variation in activity contributes to population diversity in resource acquisition strategies. Kangaroos show sensitivity to the emotional states of their joeys, responding with increased attention and affiliative behaviors when joeys display signs of distress, fear, or confusion. Mothers demonstrate remarkable attunement to their joeys' emotional needs, adjusting their own behavior in response to joey distress. The maternal sensitivity extends to subtle cues indicating emotional states that might escape human observation. Older joeys and other mob members sometimes show sympathetic responses to distressed younger animals. The capacity to recognize and respond to joey emotional states demonstrates sophisticated emotional perception. This emotional attunement strengthens mother-joey bonds and facilitates joey development. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to coordinate group movements without apparent centralized direction, suggesting sophisticated communication and shared understanding among mob members. Groups moving together show coordinated timing of jumps, turns, and changes in pace without explicit signals. The coordination suggests kangaroos maintain awareness of mob mates' positions and movement intentions. The ability to move cohesively without centralized leadership demonstrates distributed coordination and shared understanding. Young kangaroos gradually learn appropriate group movement patterns through participation in mob activities. The synchronized movement appears almost like a choreographed dance, despite no apparent choreographer. The emergence of coordinated group behavior from individual actions demonstrates the sophistication of kangaroo social coordination. This coordination ability enhances mob survival and resource acquisition. Kangaroos show individual differences in their responses to human observers, with some animals showing curiosity or habituation to human presence, while others maintain distance and vigilance. The individual differences in human response may relate to prior experiences with particular humans or human groups. Kangaroos exposed to calm, non-threatening human behavior may show reduced fear responses over time. Some kangaroos appear to develop individual preferences for particular humans based on behavioral consistency. The variation in human response demonstrates behavioral flexibility and individual assessment of threat. Younger kangaroos appear more responsive to human behavior changes than older individuals. The individual differences in human tolerance demonstrate that kangaroos evaluate humans as individuals and contexts, rather than responding uniformly to all human encounters. Kangaroos demonstrate sensitivity to seasonal changes in daylight duration, adjusting their activity patterns in response to changing day length. The recognition of photoperiod changes allows kangaroos to anticipate seasonal shifts in resource availability and temperature. Kangaroos show gradual shifts in activity timing as seasons progress rather than sudden changes. The seasonal activity adjustment demonstrates that kangaroos track environmental cycles and respond proactively. Young kangaroos gradually learn to recognize seasonal patterns through repeated experience of seasonal cycles. The sensitivity to daylight duration reveals kangaroo awareness of time passage and seasonal progression. As days grow longer or shorter, kangaroos adjust their inner rhythms with apparent ease. This seasonal awareness allows kangaroos to adjust their behavior in advance of resource availability changes. Kangaroos show evidence of individual learning styles, with some animals acquiring new information through direct experience, while others learn more readily through observation. The variation in learning styles may relate to cognitive differences and individual personality factors. Some kangaroos appear to benefit from personal trial and error experiences, while others learn more efficiently from observation. The individual differences in learning approaches demonstrate cognitive diversity within kangaroo populations. Young kangaroos may inherit learning style tendencies from parents or acquire them through early experiences. The presence of different learning styles suggests kangaroos employ varied problem-solving approaches. This diversity in learning strategies may enhance population adaptability to environmental changes. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to recognize and respond to the health status of other kangaroos, showing altered behaviors toward individuals displaying signs of illness or injury. Recognition of illness cues allows kangaroos to adjust their interactions appropriately. Healthy kangaroos may avoid contact with ill animals or modify their behavior to prevent transmission of illness. The awareness of health status suggests kangaroos recognize and interpret signs of sickness or injury. Young kangaroos may learn to recognize illness indicators through observation. The sensitivity to health status demonstrates kangaroo awareness of bodily conditions in others. This health awareness may serve functions including disease avoidance and appropriate social response. Kangaroos show individual variation in their responses to environmental stress, with some animals showing greater resilience, while others display more pronounced stress responses to challenging conditions. The variation in stress resilience may relate to personality factors, prior experience with stressful conditions, and genetic predisposition. Resilient kangaroos may continue normal activities despite environmental stress, while sensitive individuals reduce activity. The individual differences in stress response may contribute to population survival by ensuring diverse responses to challenges. Young kangaroos may inherit stress response tendencies or develop them through experience. The variation in stress resilience demonstrates individual differences in psychological responses to environmental challenges. This behavioral diversity contributes to population-level adaptation to difficult conditions. Kangaroos demonstrate sensitivity to changes in social relationships, recognizing when relationships with particular mob members improve or deteriorate. Kangaroos may show increased affiliative behaviors toward mob members they have had positive recent interactions with. Conversely, kangaroos may maintain distance from individuals following negative interactions. The recognition of relationship changes suggests kangaroos maintain dynamic mental models of their social connections. Young kangaroos learn appropriate ways to repair damaged relationships or strengthen valued connections. The sensitivity to relationship quality reveals that kangaroos experience social relationships as meaningful and worthy of attention. Some relationships deepen across seasons while others remain distant for some only the kangaroos themselves understand. This relational awareness contributes to mob cohesion and social stability. Kangaroos show evidence of planning their movements across their home ranges, moving toward anticipated resource locations before those resources become scarce. The forward planning suggests kangaroos maintain mental maps and anticipate resource availability patterns. Kangaroos may move toward water sources before drought becomes critical. Similarly, kangaroos shift toward areas where seasonal vegetation changes will soon provide fresh growth. The anticipatory movement reveals kangaroo planning abilities and environmental awareness. Young kangaroos learn anticipated movement patterns by observing experienced individuals. The capacity for forward planning demonstrates sophisticated cognition and environmental knowledge. This planning ability seems almost prescient in its accuracy. This planning ability enhances survival by ensuring kangaroos access resources before conditions become dire. Kangaroos demonstrate individual preferences for particular social partners for activities beyond simple proximity, choosing specific individuals to groom with, rest near, and forage alongside. The selective social partnership suggests kangaroos form social preferences based on compatibility. Some kangaroos appear to serve as preferred partners for multiple individuals, while others maintain smaller social circles. The individual differences in social partnership patterns create varied social networks within mobs. Young kangaroos develop their own social preferences through repeated interaction with mob members. The formation of selective partnerships demonstrates social sophistication and individual agency in structuring relationships. These partnerships contribute to mob stability and individual psychological well-being. Kangaroos show sensitivity to changes in their home range conditions, recognizing when environmental features change and adjusting their behavior accordingly. A kangaroo noticing that a previously reliable water source has dried may shift its behavior toward other water locations. Similarly, kangaroos recognize when vegetation patterns change due to seasonal progression or environmental damage. The recognition of environmental changes allows behavioral adjustment without requiring complete exploration. Young kangaroos gradually learn to recognize important environmental features and respond to their changes. The sensitivity to environmental changes reveals that kangaroos maintain detailed awareness of their surroundings. They know their home range deeply, intimately, as one might know our own dwelling. This environmental awareness contributes to efficient resource location and navigation. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to recognize when other kangaroos are engaging in deceptive behavior or attempting to mislead them about resource locations or social intentions. A kangaroo displaying exaggerated excitement about a food source may be recognized as potentially misleading by experienced individuals. The recognition of deception suggests kangaroos maintain theories about others' mental states and intentions. Young kangaroos may initially fall for deceptive displays, but gradually learn to recognize signs of deception. Some kangaroos become remarkably skilled at detecting subtle inconsistencies in others' behaviors. The capacity to detect deception demonstrates sophisticated social cognition. This deception recognition ability allows kangaroos to maintain accurate information about their social environment and resource locations. Kangaroos show individual variation in their willingness to investigate novel objects or stimuli, with bold individuals approaching new items while cautious animals maintain distance. The variation in investigative behavior appears partly innate and partly shaped by prior experience and outcome of previous investigations. Bold kangaroos may discover valuable resources or information through investigation. Cautious individuals may avoid potential hazards associated with novel items. The individual differences in investigative behavior may contribute to population discovery of new resources. Young kangaroos gradually develop their own approaches to novelty through experience. The variation in novelty response demonstrates personality diversity and different ecological strategies. This behavior, oral diversity, may enhance population adaptability to novel environmental situations. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to adjust their foraging intensity based on perceived resource abundance, increasing feeding effort when resources appear scarce and reducing effort when abundance is apparent. The adjustment of foraging intensity to resource availability demonstrates efficient energy management. Kangaroos may reduce feeding duration when high-quality vegetation is abundant. Conversely, they increase foraging time and intensity when preferred vegetation becomes difficult to locate. The adjustable foraging behavior reveals kangaroo sensitivity to resource availability. Young kangaroos learn to calibrate foraging effort through observation and personal experience. The flexible foraging behavior allows optimization of energy expenditure relative to resource availability. This precise matching of effort to opportunity shows remarkable efficiency. This behavioral flexibility contributes to kangaroo survival during both abundant and scarce periods. Kangaroos show evidence of individual emotional regulation abilities, managing their emotional responses to environmental challenges and social stresses. Some kangaroos display more equanimous responses to stress, while others show pronounced emotional reactions. The individual differences in emotional regulation appear partly innate and partly learned through experience. Kangaroos that experience early stress may develop either greater resilience or heightened sensitivity depending on circumstances. The capacity for emotional regulation allows kangaroos to maintain functioning during challenging periods. Young kangaroos gradually develop emotional regulation skills through social experience and maturation. The variation in emotional regulation demonstrates individual differences in psychological resilience. This emotional flexibility contributes to individual and population-level adaptation to environmental stress. Kangaroos demonstrate recognition of individual kangaroo vocalizations, specific enough to identify individuals from their calls alone, suggesting detailed vocal memory systems. Mothers recognize their joey's vocalizations among other joey's calls, responding selectively to their own offspring. The ability to recognize individual voices suggests kangaroos maintain detailed acoustic memories of individuals. Young kangaroos gradually develop vocal signatures that become recognizable to mob members. The detailed vocal recognition demonstrates sophisticated auditory processing and memory. This vocal recognition ability contributes to mother-joey bonding and social cohesion. Each kangaroo develops its own acoustic signature, unique as a human voice. The presence of recognizable individual vocalizations reveals that kangaroos possess distinctive voices, reflecting their individuality. Kangaroos show sensitivity to changes in local water quality, recognizing when water sources become contaminated or unsafe. and avoiding these sources subsequently. The recognition of water quality degradation suggests kangaroos detect subtle changes in water chemistry or odor. Kangaroos may display hesitation or avoidance behaviors toward water sources they previously consumed without concern. The water quality sensitivity demonstrates kangaroo awareness of bodily needs and safety. Young kangaroos may initially lack water quality discrimination but gradually develop sensitivity through experience. The capacity to assess water safety reveals kangaroo responsiveness to internal bodily cues and environmental hazards. Their bodies communicate danger through subtle signals they have learned to recognize and heed. This safety awareness contributes to health maintenance and disease avoidance. Kangaroos demonstrate individual differences in their responses to mob hierarchical structure, with some individuals accepting their position readily while others frequently challenge established hierarchies. The variation in acceptance of social position may relate to personality factors and prior successes or failures in challenging authority. Ambitious kangaroos may frequently attempt to improve their status through challenges. More accepting individuals may conserve energy by accepting their established position. The individual differences in hierarchy engagement may contribute to population stability and social flexibility. Young kangaroos gradually learn appropriate responses to hierarchy through experience with more powerful individuals. The variation in hierarchy response demonstrates individual differences in social ambition and competitiveness. Some are born leaders, while others find peace in supporting roles. This behavioral diversity contributes to mob social dynamics and stability. Kangaroos show sensitivity to changes in other kangaroos' social status and dominance rankings, adjusting their behavior in response to shifts in social position within the mob. A kangaroo that observes another individual defeating a previously dominant member may shift its own behavior toward the newly elevated individual. The recognition of status changes allows kangaroos to update their mental models of social hierarchy dynamically. Young kangaroos learn to assess and respond to status indicators through observation of how mob members interact. The capacity to recognize and respond to status changes demonstrates sophisticated social understanding. This status sensitivity contributes to mob coherence and appropriate social navigation. Hierarchies shift and flow like water finding its level. Kangaroos appear to maintain continuous awareness of their social position relative to other mob members. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to distinguish between different types of vocalizations produced by other kangaroos, responding differently to alarm calls versus social vocalizations versus maternal calls. A kangaroo recognizing an alarm call may immediately respond with heightened vigilance. Social vocalizations may prompt approach or affiliative behavior. Maternal calls may trigger avoidance if the listener is not the joey being called. The discrimination among vocalization types suggests kangaroos engage in sophisticated acoustic communication interpretation. Young kangaroos gradually learn to recognize and respond appropriately to different call types through experience. The presence of different call types demonstrates that kangaroo communication carries multiple meaningful messages. This vocal diversity contributes to mob coordination and social functioning. Kangaroos show evidence of individual differences in their responses to physical discomfort, such as minor injuries or parasitic irritation, with some animals displaying obvious distress, while others tolerate discomfort without apparent behavioral change. The individual differences in discomfort expression may relate to pain sensitivity and learned responses to pain. Some kangaroos may seek help or comfort from other mob members when experiencing pain. Others may isolate themselves or attempt to minimize movement. The individual variation in pain response demonstrates differences in bodily awareness and social help-seeking behavior. Young kangaroos may learn to manage pain through observation of how mature individuals respond. The capacity to tolerate or express pain demonstrates kangaroo bodily awareness and self-regulation abilities. Kangaroos demonstrate sensitivity to the social morale and emotional tone of their mob, with individual kangaroos showing behavior changes when the mob's overall emotional state shifts. A mob in high spirits during resource abundance may inspire increased activity and playfulness. A mob experiencing stress from scarcity or predator presence may become more cautious and subdued. The recognition of collective emotional states suggests kangaroos perceive and respond to group-level phenomena. Young kangaroos gradually become attuned to mob emotional tone through repeated experience. The sensitivity to collective mood demonstrates that kangaroos maintain awareness extending beyond individual-level phenomena. Mobs possess their own personality and emotional character. This social sensitivity contributes to mob cohesion and collective response to environmental challenges. Kangaroos show individual variation in their attentiveness to younger animals, with some individuals directing substantial care and attention toward joeys beyond their own offspring, while others show less interest in helping with childcare. The variation in allocare behavior may relate to personality factors and previous experience with raising young. Some kangaroos may benefit from practicing caregiving skills through helping with other joeys. Less attentive individuals may focus their energy on other activities. The individual differences in caregiving may contribute to joey survival and development success. Young kangaroos that receive attention from multiple mob members may develop differently than those receiving care only from mothers. Some kangaroos nurture all the young they encounter, while others focus solely on their own. The variation in allocare demonstrates individual differences in social concern and caretaking orientation. Kangaroos demonstrate the ability to recognize when other kangaroos are successfully solving problems or locating resources, paying attention to successful individuals, and adjusting their own behavior accordingly. A kangaroo observing another animal successfully accessing a difficult food source may approach that same source using similar techniques. The observational learning from successful problem solvers accelerates individual learning and skill acquisition. Young kangaroos may benefit disproportionately from observing skilled older individuals. The capacity to learn from others' success demonstrates kangaroo attention to social learning opportunities. This learning ability contributes to the development of effective foraging and survival strategies. There is wisdom in watching those who have succeeded before you. Kangaroos appear to value knowledge gained through observing others' achievements. Kangaroos show sensitivity to changes in their environment that might indicate approaching danger or opportunity, displaying heightened alertness when environmental cues shift. Subtle changes in sound patterns, wind direction, or vegetation movement may prompt increased vigilance. Similarly, changes indicating approaching resources may prompt increased foraging activity. The sensitivity to environmental micro-changes suggests kangaroos maintain continuous environmental monitoring. Young kangaroos gradually develop sensitivity to important environmental cues through experience. The attention to subtle environmental signals demonstrates kangaroo awareness extending beyond obvious stimuli. Nothing escapes their notice when danger might approach. This environmental sensitivity contributes significantly to predator avoidance and resource discovery. Kangaroos demonstrate individual variation in their social tolerance during high-stress periods, with some animals remaining affiliative and cooperative under pressure, while others become withdrawn or aggressive. The individual differences in stress-related behavior may relate to personality factors and prior stress experiences. Some kangaroos may seek social support during challenging times, while others prefer solitude. The variation in coping strategies may contribute to mob survival by ensuring diverse responses to crisis situations. Young kangaroos gradually develop their characteristic stress responses through maturation and experience. The individual differences in social tolerance during stress demonstrate that kangaroos employ varied psychological coping mechanisms. Some kangaroos become stronger in adversity, while others need time alone to recover. This behavioral diversity enhances mob resilience during environmental or social challenges. As our time with these remarkable creatures draws toward evening, as the light begins to fade across the Australian landscape and the day settles into quiet rest, reflect upon what you have learned about kangaroos. These are not simple animals driven only by instinct and immediate hunger. They are beings who remember, who choose, who prefer and dislike, who form bonds that matter to them deeply, and who navigate complex social and emotional landscapes with grace and sophistication. They experience joy in play, they grieve separations, they help one another, and they build cultures within their mobs that persist across generations. In understanding kangaroos more fully, we understand something profound about consciousness itself and about the rich inner lives of animals surrounding us. Next time you encounter a kangaroo, or simply think of them hopping across the vast Australian continent, remember that within each individual kangaroo lies a unique personality, a complex history of learning and experience, and a consciousness as real and valuable as our own. May this knowledge sit with you gently, informing your compassion for all living beings who share this world. If you have found peace in these explorations, I invite you to return whenever you need a quiet place to rest your mind. Thank you for journeying with us through the minds and hearts of kangaroos. Good night, and may you rest easy, knowing that the world is filled with more wonder than you might have imagined.